It all started in the 10th year after the beginning of the end of the world. On the infected Earth, the main character encountered zombie butchers of the 8th level. Yang Fan, a level 7 berserker, yelled at his little sister Qingshui to get out of here quickly while fighting the zombie butcher. The guy screamed in pain because the monster was not easy. He hit our hero with his foot, forming a bright flash. Qingshui was afraid for her big brother when she saw that the giant monster managed to knock him down and swung again to attack. The little sister rushed to her brother to protect him, and the main character looked with fear at the giant zombie sword that was already inches away from them. The girl protected the main character with her back, so the blow of the 8th level zombie butcher fell on her, and not on the guy. The main character was terrified. He started shouting out the name of his little sister, seeing that she was badly injured. Qingshu immediately fainted from such a strong blow. Tears appeared in the guy's eyes. He screamed in despair, hugging his sister. Angry at the zombie butcher, the guy grabbed his weapon and shouted, calling him a bastard to fight back against the monster. The main character swung his dagger and screamed, wishing the monster dead, and was intent on attacking the zombie butcher in return. Leaving a bright trail of fire behind the blade, the level 7 berserker managed to decapitate the giant monster with a single blow. A crystal fell out of the monster, shining with a bright blue light, and our hero bent down to pick up the extracted artifact. Yang Fan shouted to his sister to hold on. He promised to save the girl as soon as he found water to revive her. He took her on his shoulders and walked to the third base of the main pulley, where he and she would be safe from the monsters. The main character is visibly surprised when he opens the gate and sees that inside is his girlfriend, who is already kissing another guy. He shouted, asking the head of the third base of the main pulley, Xiao Ao, and the girl of our hero Zhao Yunrong what they were doing. And they clearly did not expect him to appear. Xiao Ao was annoyed by the main character's appearance. He said that he didn't think that the guy would just run away from the clutches of the level 8 zombie butchers. Our young hero, holding his sister on his back, got even more angry and shouted, asking the leader how he knew that the zombies were there. Meanwhile, his little sister woke up and started moaning in pain, and her brother turned his attention to her and started shouting her name. He shouted that they would talk about this later and told Xiao Ao to give him some living water urgently because his sister needed to be saved. Xiao Ao laughed viciously and asked the guy why he would treat his sister, since the medicinal value of living water is many times greater than aquamarine. The main character reached into the inner pocket of his jacket to get out what he is ready to give a man in exchange for living water. He showed the ring, saying that it was his biggest secret, and by reaching the maximum level, Xiao Ao would be able to become the master of the entire world. Xiao Ao grinned viciously and replied that it sounded good, but the ring would be his anyway, and he wouldn't need to waste any living water if Yang Fan died. The leader of the third base of the main pulley spread his hands and said that he was only sorry that this beauty, the sister of our hero, would turn into a zombie. Frowning, the protagonist glared at the man with hatred and called him a bastard. Before dealing with him, Yang Fan placed his little sister against the wall and then grabbed his weapon. The enraged guy swung his cold weapon sharply and shouted, wishing the head of the third base of the main pulley to death. Yang Fan tried to attack him, but Xiao Ao jumped back in time and immediately released his energy to fight back. The main character flew back when his opponent hit the guy with a blast of energy. Yang Fan screamed loudly in unbearable pain. The head of the base approached the guy lying on the ground and asked if he, a scum with severe injuries, would still fight with him. The man took the ring from the guy that was in his hand. He wanted to see what kind of superpowers this mythical decoration has, but Yang Fan, who still had the strength to resist, did not let him do it. He took his hand away and shouted to the man that it was not harmful to dream. The guy took a desperate step and put the magic ring in his mouth to swallow it and prevent the scoundrel from taking possession of the decoration. Xiao Ao looked at the guy with disdain and asked if he really thought that he would stop the man by swallowing the ring. After that, the man used the sword to take the ring from the body of our hero himself, brutally killing him. But then the ring swallowed by the main character activated. It began to emit a bright orange light, which turned into a vortex. Xiao Ao and our hero's sister covered their eyes because the ring was emitting too bright light. The man was at a loss. Activating the secret ability of the ring allowed our hero to make a leap in time. He abruptly opened his frightened eyes. The guy woke up in his own dorm room at the university. He got up and assumed that he had gone to heaven because he thought he was dead. Yang Fan looked at his watch and was afraid, because the time on it indicated that the end of the world would begin in 3 hours. He pinched his face and let out a cry of pain as he tried to make sure he wasn't asleep. And it began to dawn on him that he had been reborn. The main character began to understand where he was now. He turned his head and was surprised when he saw that he was not alone. In front of him was Zhao Yunrong, the girl who had betrayed him during the events after which he was reborn. He stared at the girl in silence for a long time and thought about whether he should deal with Zhao Yunrong right now or thank her. Yang Fan glared at his ring and thought that he wouldn't give the girl a second chance, and he was going to end her right now. The main character has firmly decided for himself that, having received a new chance at life, Now he will not waste time on garbage like this girl. He clenched his fist tightly and was furious, thinking of those who had wronged him in the previous life. Now he wanted to take revenge on all of them. The guy looked at the door in fright when someone kicked it open and shouted that it was a hotel room crawl. On the threshold were two strong men, one of whom was holding a bat. The bandit said that he thought that our heroes would be here. A bandit with a bat entered the room and told Zhao Yunrong that he loved her, and now he intends to cripple our hero because he is her boyfriend. Zhao Yunrong screamed, asking the hero who they were and that she was scared. And Yang Fan didn't believe her, thinking that this bitch was just playing an innocent role well. The man swung the bat and shouted at the brat, accusing him of daring to select girls he liked. He tried to attack our hero with a bat, but the blow hit the bed. Yang Fan jumped aside in time and criticized the speed of the offender. The main character quickly ran back to sneak up on the offender from behind, and again started talking about the bandit's slow speed. Yang Fan managed to grab the back of the man's head and pushed him forward to counterattack. The guy smashed the offender's face against the wall and said that with this speed, the bandit will definitely be killed during the end of the world. The second scoundrel was taken aback when he saw how strong our hero was. And Zhao Yunrong didn't understand when her boyfriend was so cool. The bandit was frightened when our hero turned around and said that now it was his turn. The scoundrel opened his mouth in shock and froze. The main character slapped the man in the face, thinking that in the previous life, because of such bastards, he lost the opportunity to pump up his strength in the first stage of the end of the world. The man collapsed to the ground, and Yang Fan wished him now to experience the horrors of the end of the world, having mutilated bodies. When Yang Fan wanted to leave, the girl stopped him, asking where he was going and if he didn't want to be together with her anymore. The guy turned around and let her know that he knew she had at least 5 boyfriends in this town, and he didn't want to make any mistakes in the past. The main character walked over and grabbed his clothes to get dressed and leave this room, not wanting to continue the relationship with the girl. Zhao Yunrong remained, not understanding how this guy found out about this, and who told him, because before our hero thought that she was pure and innocent, when Yang Fan went outside, he wondered why the sky suddenly turned so dark and saw that it was a seed of darkness. He was startled to realize that the apocalypse had arrived too soon, even though when he woke up, the end of the world was still 3 hours away. He immediately grabbed his phone to call his younger sister named Qing Shui and warn her of the danger. Meanwhile, his little sister Qing Shui was blow-drying her hair after showering, and she noticed that someone was calling her. The girl answered the phone and asked her brother what had happened, and if he just missed her kind and beautiful sister. Our hero asked her to listen to him and told her that the world was going to turn into her favorite zombie horror movie. The guy told the younger sister to stay calm, close all the doors and windows until the older brother came to her. Qing Shui visibly tensed up, but still thought that big brother was playing a prank on her. She asked him how this was even possible. The girl looked out of the window and saw a horde of zombies eating people outside. She informed her brother about this. Yang Fan was afraid for his younger sister and started shouting her name, but the phone connection was cut off. The main character concluded that the communication center had already fallen. He was sweating from fear for his sister. He decided that he needed to save his sister first, because in the previous life at the beginning of the apocalypse, his parents were safe. The guy smiled because he was lucky. The ring detected that there was a merchant nearby. It was his special ability. The main character went to the public shower room for girls on the university campus. The merchant was there. The ring was still emitting light, and he saw that the merchant's energy was coming from the public shower and went to the door. When he entered, he saw that the women's showers were no different from the men's, and then noticed a zombie that had its back turned to him. The girl who had turned into a zombie turned around and started growling, baring her sharp fangs as she reacted aggressively to the young man's appearance. She rushed forward, snarling, to pounce on our hero, but this did not frighten him. He stood and commented on her good figure, but a good figure wasn't enough for Yang Fan to stand on ceremony with the girl. He smashed the glass with his elbow to get to the fire safety axe. The guy grabbed an axe, designed for emergency situations to protect them from the bloodthirsty zombie. After dealing with the zombies with a single swing of the axe, the main character declared that only dead zombies have value. He took the gray crystal, saying that even such weak crystals should not be scattered, because he needed to gain strength to protect his family. Finally, he found a merchant, a guy in a gray robe. It was a gray-level merchant, the lowest, whose assortment was the most meager, but it still made him happy, because in his previous life he didn't discover the merchant until 3 months after the apocalypse began. After the apocalypse, strange creatures appeared on Earth who called themselves merchants. They were divided into levels. There were 9 levels in total: gray, white, red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, and purple, all of which provided people with drugs and equipment. The main character initiated the process of trading with a gray dealer. Everything around him began to transform. Blue light filled the space. He was overjoyed because, just like in his previous life, it was enough for him to get close to the merchant with the crystal to initiate a trade. After seeing the assortment, Yang Fan realized that the discount that the ring was giving him was still there. The merchant had potions, water, and more on sale. Choosing a gun, the guy was wondering if that cool function works to get high-level stuff once a week at a low price. He decided to see what he could get and sent his ring to check what trading functions he still had. Yang Fan opened his mouth wide in surprise when a gold card with a cool hammer weapon appeared in front of him. He came across an excellent craftsman's hammer, which made him happy. The ring effect gave him a discount, and the weapon could only be purchased for 600 gray crystals. The main character finished the trading session and found himself back in the public shower. He did not buy anything from the gray merchant. Yang Fan scratched his head. He decided that he needed to level up as quickly as possible, because right now, he didn't even have enough crystals to buy a potion at a discount. He looked warily at the door that was behind him when he heard a loud cry from a strange girl. When he entered, he saw more people. It was two girls who were shouting that they were not approached by a brutal zombie. The red-haired girl snatched the knife from her friend's hand. She wasn't as scared as the blue-haired girl, so she was determined to deal with the zombies. She gripped the knife tightly and screamed, warning the girl who had turned into a zombie that she would not spare her if she came any closer. The red-haired girl froze in disbelief when she noticed the main character's appearance in the women's shower. Yang Fan stood up for the female students and killed the zombies with a single swing of the axe, protecting the girls from the green-skinned monster. The red-haired beauty was scared because Yang Fan took the life of their friend, and the guy told her to be quiet because they themselves would have died if he hadn't dealt with this zombie. It was difficult for the girls to accept that there are zombies, as in cartoons and movies, they introduced themselves as Yan Yue and Duanmu. The main character stared at them in silent surprise. He realized who exactly was standing in front of him, and realized that this world is very small. From his past life, the guy knows that the best fighters of the Blood Rose base, the skilled shooter Yan Yue and the animal mutation doctor Duanmu, are standing in front of him. When the guy heard a loud growl, he immediately tensed up, because he realized that another bloodthirsty zombie had crept up behind him. The main character only had time to turn around and see that the girl turned into a zombie was defeated by someone else. It was Yan Wei who used her knife to throw it at the zombies. Our hero praised the girl for her quick throw. Yang Fan warned the girl that it wasn't enough to deal with a zombie even with a hard shot. It was useless. He swung the axe and finally dealt with the zombies, showing new friends how to do it. Yan Yue thought that this guy was not only strong but also a pervert, because he was looking at the zombies so intently right now. And the main character was thinking that the Blood Rose organization and his third base from his previous life were sworn enemies. However, the introductions were useful, as Yan Yue is an 8-level shooter, and Duanmu can control mutated plants and creatures. The guy looked at the red-haired girl in disbelief, who asked if he was really looking for what she was holding in her hand. Yang Fan asked where she got the crystal core, and the girl already assumed that it was because she had seen this in zombies in cartoons and movies. The girl admitted that it was her friend Duanmu who found the core, because after all, she has the best grades in anatomy. Duanmu immediately blushed in embarrassment, stuttering as she defended herself, saying that she just studied anatomy for quite a bit. Yan Yue suggested that our hero work together to be stronger. He suggested that she get dressed first, and she asked if he really didn't come here to look at the girls. Duanmu began to believe our hero that there were even more zombies outside, and the guy thought that the girls had a lot of potential, and it was worth investing in them. A girl with blue hair asked her friend to change clothes, and she agreed, saying that the guy had already enjoyed the view. The ladies asked our hero to wait for them outside, because they need to change clothes, and told him not to peek. The main character agreed to wait for them outside and keep a vigil so that some more bloodthirsty zombies would not sneak up on them. After changing her clothes, Yan Yue asked the guy if he knew how they became zombies and said that they were going to the festival after a shower, so they have a special outfit. The girl asked what they would do now, and if they should find a safe place to wait for rescue. Yang Fan replied that there is no safe place. The number of zombies is increasing, and they are also developing. Playfully tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, the girl asked if this meant that humans could evolve in the same way as zombies. Outside, the guy introduced himself and said that they could follow him if they met 3 conditions. Give him all the crystals, do not betray, and do not be a burden. Yan Yue asked her friend what she thought, and she said that Yang Fan is really good, knows how to kill zombies and what happened, so they need to be with him if they want to survive. The red-haired girl said that they agree to his terms, but she hopes that he will really help them survive. The university's first academic building was already surrounded by a horde of zombies that were snarling and roaming around. Our hero was hiding around the corner, and Yan Yue asked where they were going, because there are already a lot of green-skinned monsters waiting for them. Yang Fan gave them the command to follow him quietly and collect crystal cores, as this is a resource that will greatly help them in the future. Duanmu asked if this guy was going to deal with a whole horde of zombies on his own when our hero went ahead with an axe. One of the zombies noticed the appearance of the main character. Yang Fan was already swinging an axe to deal with the monster. The young man needed only one skillful swing of the fire axe to leave the monster no chance of survival. The girls noticed that a crystal core fell out of the affected zombie. A small gray ball rolled on the asphalt. Duanmu walked over and bent down to pick up the precious crystal core as the protagonist had instructed them. She carefully looked at the crystal and said that the core material was very strange. She had never seen anything like it before. The girl would like to study the crystal's composition in more detail in the laboratory, and her friend suggested that the core is more valuable than gold, since it is now an important resource. Yanwei was curious as to why this guy was trying so hard to collect crystal cores, while Yang Fan was destroying other zombies. The red-haired lady noted the strength of our hero, but was inattentive, because she did not notice that another zombie crept up on them from behind. The girls only turned around when this monster was destroyed by a yellow sports car. A guy got out of the car and asked Yang Fan if fate had brought them together, because he didn't expect to meet her here. It was Lin Tian, a businessman and the head of his own company, who was fixing his shiny hair while holding a single red rose between his teeth. Yan Yu looked at him with annoyance and noted the guy's persistence. She didn't understand what the son of rich parents was doing here. Meanwhile, the main character was still busy dealing with zombies. He took the life of another monster that wanted to attack the girls. The girl told Yang Fan that there was an annoying person known in their school as Mr. Bag of Money named Lin Tian. Lin Tian approached our hero and said that he saw that he could fight and offered him to be his personal bodyguard. Seeing that the guy wasn't eager, Lin Tian handed him a check and allowed him to write any amount there and promised to pay for all his expenses. Yang Fan thought that this rich kid reminded him that he needed to stock up on food and weapons. Just then, two more zombies ran forward, snarling and waving their arms to attack the terrified Duanmu. Yang Fan dealt with both of them in one blow and said that the sound of the car attracted zombies. You need to break through the crowd of monsters. The girls went after Yang Fan, leaving Lin Tian behind. The guy shouted to his beloved to wait for him. The crowd of zombies that came running at the sound of the car turned away from the guy and ran after our heroes. Lin Tian was offended by the fact that even the zombies ignored him. He urged the guys not to run away from him, because he can overcome 10 of them at a time. When the main character and his girlfriends escaped, another danger appeared. Even Yang Fan was at a loss as to how this was possible. A mutated plant appeared in front of them, and Yang Fan thought that everything was developing much faster this time, because in the previous life, these plants appeared much later. The terrified Duanmu, when the guy said that it was a second-level mutated plant, asked if plants could also evolve. A huge red flower began to spread the same dangerous pollen through the air. It emitted a red light. This pollen affected not only people but also those who had already turned into zombies. They began to scream more furiously. Yang Fan warned the girls that the mutated second-level flower could manipulate the first-level zombies to attack. A whole crowd of zombies under the influence of the red flower surrounded our heroes. The guy held an axe at the ready to fight back. The main character swung an axe, dealing with monsters, and a frightened girl screamed, asking what to do, because the zombies are only getting bigger. Yang Fan shouted for the girls to stay behind him, and the zombies were moving slowly, so together they could break through. The blue-haired girl screamed in fear as one of the zombies caught up with her and was already reaching out to pounce on her. Fortunately, Yan Yue came to the rescue and pushed the monster away with her foot, and told her friend to stand between her and Yang Fan to be safe. Yang Fan noticed this and smiled, thinking that the girl could take down a zombie with her bare hands. And no wonder she was the best in the Blood Rose organization. Meanwhile, the son of rich parents has returned to his yellow sports car to fight through the crowd of zombies. The guy, holding tightly to the steering wheel, told his beloved not to be afraid, because he was already here to save her. He stepped on the gas pedal to push the car forward and get rid of a bunch of zombie losers. Lin Tian managed to knock down one of the monsters and break through the crowd of monsters in the car without them attacking him. Seeing this, the main character shouted that this was their chance and told the girls to run to the training building and barricade themselves there. But Lin Tian had already done the same and ran into the building, closing the door behind him, not waiting for the others to be safe too. Yan Yue and her friend were running towards the door. The girl was shouting, asking the scoundrel what he was doing, and the scoundrel was holding on to the door handle. The girl knocked on the door demanding that he open it, but Lin Tian said that he would only do it if she agreed to be his woman. The red-haired girl was furious at Lin Tian. She said that he was despicable, but that only brought a malicious smile to his face. Lin Tian still didn't open the door. Duanmu and her friend stayed outside. They noticed that a crowd of zombies was already approaching them. They asked our hero what to do, because they can't get into the building, and Yang Fan was busy fighting zombies. The main character, fighting off monsters with an axe, shouted for the girls to go to the back entrance of the cafeteria. The girls ran to the other entrance, finally telling the guy to be careful, and our hero continued to defend himself from the crowd of zombies. Yang Fan knew that the situation wasn't good. He needed to destroy the mutated flower, otherwise the zombies would only get bigger. Before that, the guy, gritting his teeth in anger, once again swung the fire axe to take the life of another zombie. The main character was tense, not understanding how the flower had evolved to the second level so quickly. After all, it wasn't like in his previous life. The number of zombies did not decrease. The young man was still surrounded by a whole crowd from all sides, and Yang Fan decided to break through them. He shouted that he could only destroy the flower face to face, and swung the axe to destroy the plant. The guy hit the plant with all his strength. A loud sound was heard. But it seems that this was not enough to destroy the flower. The situation became even more tense when Yang Fan realized that with his current strength, he could only damage the flower's skin. He assumed that his rebirth triggered the butterfly effect, because in his previous life, the second-level mutated flower only appeared after a week. The plant released a new batch of toxic red pollen, which immediately had an effect on the horde of zombies. The main character noticed that the plant manipulates zombies to attack him, and immediately began to fight off the monsters with an axe. Yang Fan started to panic because there were too many zombies. He noticed another one creeping up from behind. The guy froze in surprise when he saw that someone killed this zombie instead of him, throwing a knife at the monster. He turned around and saw his new companion standing in front of him, who, as it turned out, hadn't run away. Duanmu was holding a whole bottle of some liquid in her hands, and our hero asked why they came back. The main character still couldn't believe that his allies were girls who were his enemies in a previous life. Yang Fan saw that the red-haired girl had turned away and, worried, asked if she was hurt. Yanyue replied that she was fine. It was just that the zombies had scratched her, and the guy had better focus on the mutated flower now. Stammering and blushing, Duanmu revealed that she had brought oil for frying and they could use fire. Yang Fan complimented her on the good idea. Yang Fan grabbed a bottle of oil to use, and the red-haired girl ran to cover the guys from the zombies. The main character started pouring oil directly on the mutated plant of the second level, then set it on fire. When the plant burst into flames, Yang Fan breathed a sigh of relief and said that they were lucky, because fire against a third-level flower would be useless. But the pollen still surrounded the children. Our hero was afraid when he realized what this meant. He shouted, telling the girls to hold their breath and run, because pollen paralyzes the nerves and makes them lose consciousness. Yan Yue, while trying to escape, saw that even the level 1 zombies had started to lose consciousness due to the pollen of the flower. Lin Tian, meanwhile, went outside of the building, walking past the dead zombies, calling out to his beloved, asking where she was. Looking at the whole pile of dead monsters, he wondered if they could have dealt with such a crowd on their own. As he got closer to the mutated flower, Lin Tian wondered what kind of strange, huge red plant it was. The young man bent down to touch the flower. It was a small bud of a dangerous plant that had not yet opened. It turned out that it was a harmless flower bud, only in appearance, because it cruelly dealt with the guy in a second. It was the hard root of a mutated flower that had emerged from the ground in an instant and grown several meters high. Yanyue complained to our hero that she couldn't keep running because she felt dizzy. Yang Fan examined her and said that she was infected with zombies. The girl replied that she would rather die than turn into a monster. The guy grabbed her to put her on his back and said that it was not too late to save her, but he would take her life without a doubt if she suddenly turned into a zombie. He shouted at Duanmu to keep up, but it was difficult for the girl to run. She replied that she would catch up with them later, as long as he saved her friend. Our hero understood that Yan Yue was in danger. He needed to return to the public shower room to level up and save the girl. A guy carrying Yan Yue on his back pushed open the door of the women's public shower on their university's campus. Yan Yue was feeling unwell. The main character asked if she was okay, and the gray merchant was still there. The guy asked Duanmu why she was crying because her friend wasn't going to die, and told her to give him all the collected crystal cores. The injured girl did not understand what this mysterious man in a robe was doing in the women's shower, and our hero hoped that the collected crystals would be enough. The main character approached the gray merchant to start a transaction and exchange crystal cores for something needed. Yan Yue and her blue-haired friend were startled when they saw their new friend disappear in a moment. They simultaneously said that the main character had disappeared, and continued to look at the gray merchant, near which the guy disappeared. Yang Fan saw that the water was already worth 4 gray crystals, even though the apocalypse had just begun, and accused the merchants of being loan sharks. Fortunately, the ring gives the guy a discount, so he decided to buy 1 bottle of pure water and a potion to level up from 0 to 1st. The guy had to pay for it as much as 44 crystals. After buying it, he only had 60 crystal cores left. The first thing Yang Fan did was drink a blue shiny substance from a glass tube. It was a level-up potion. He reminded himself that in his previous life, he had missed out on the chance to develop early, which caused him to become Xiaoao's subordinate and not be able to protect his family. The guy claimed that no one would be able to harm his family this time, and the level-up potion worked. Yang Fan used the ring to give water properties. He didn't trust the girls fully, so he did it in secret. When he reappeared, he asked Duanmu how Yan Yue was feeling, and she sobbed and screamed that her friend had already fainted. When Yang Fan got closer, he was horrified to see that the girl was already slowly turning into a zombie. He said that there was no time and took a sip of purified water, while Duanmu stood behind in fright, not understanding what they should do. Yang Fan passed the water to the girl through a kiss, but even so much water flowed out, because in a coma, Yan Yue is clenching his teeth hard. Duanmu covered her mouth in surprise and blushed when she saw exactly how our hero started treating her best friend. The healing water immediately affected the girl, and the dark spots on her hands began to gradually fade. Yan Yue finally came to her senses. She slowly opened her eyes, but she still didn't realize that our hero was passing the medicine to her through a kiss. Seeing this, she pushed him away and complained that he was saving her this way, and Yang Fan explained that he couldn't have done it any other way. Duanmu rushed forward and hugged her friend tightly, saying that she was very scared and that she would have become a zombie if it wasn't for our hero. Yan Yue asked how the main character came back here after all. She remembers how the guy just disappeared. The girl with the blue hair suggested that it was because of the man in gray, and our hero praised her for her intelligence, saying that it was a merchant. Yan Yue promised that she would soon kill more zombies and collect crystals to return them to our hero, because the water probably cost him a lot. But Yang Fan told them to go after him right now, because they had already lost a lot of his time. And Duanmu complained about him, because her friend hadn't recovered yet. Soon, they were standing outside the first school building. The guy told the girls to collect the crystal cores of the zombies who were in a coma. But then, a guy in a white shirt appeared in front of the main character, who also turned into a zombie, and he did not sleep. Yang Fan recognized him as Lin Tian. He wondered how this child of rich parents turned into a zombie too. He immediately became alert and told his companions to be careful, because there was clearly something wrong here. Turning around, our hero noticed how the red root of a mutated plant instantly grew out of the ground, breaking the asphalt. The guy grabbed Yan Yue to lead her away, but the red vine almost grazed her, and Yang Fan took the hit. Duanmu also jumped back when the vine tried to attack her, and our hero warned that they would be fine if they kept a safe distance. The main character and a girl with red hair got scared when they saw that their companion got into trouble. It turned out that the mutated vine managed to grab Duanmu, its thin branches immobilizing the girl completely. Yang Fan rushed forward with his axe, shouting at the girl not to move. And this is the vine of that plant that wants to take revenge on them. The guy swung his axe and tried to destroy one of the red vines. There was a loud explosion and a bright blue flash appeared. Duanmu was released. The youth shouted for her to hide or just stay out of the way, making things difficult for them if she could move. The mutated red vine took on a mouth and green leaves, and with a whoosh, it fired a poisoned purple pollen bullet at the kids. The main character, knowing perfectly well what it is, covered his nose and mouth with his hand, telling the girls to hold their breath because the pollen is poisoned. The guy couldn't open his eyes and complained about it. Because of this, he didn't notice how another vine broke through the asphalt and came out. Yang Fan tried to rub his eyes. The girls shouted for him to be careful because the vine was about to attack him. Suddenly, the mythical gold ring on our hero's finger began to flash and emit blue light, helping its owner. The aura of the mysterious ring surrounded the whole body of the main character. It lifted him above the firmament of the earth. The guy did not resist. Yang Fan thought that he was lucky because his ring could remove all the toxins from his body, otherwise he would already be dead. After getting rid of the pollen poison, he grabbed the axe again and counterattacked the vine before it could even attack him. He cut the plant into two pieces and didn't expect to see two whole crystals there. One of them was much bigger and shone brighter. The main character squatted down to pick up the obtained artifacts from the destroyed mutated plant. Yan Yue asked what kind of white bead it was. The guy said that the crystal core of a second-level mutant flower. Duanmu warned the guys that the spore of the mutant plant is growing again, in the place where our hero destroyed the vine. From the ground, another plant sprouted out, looking like a red petal with spiral patterns. Yang Fan touched it without hesitation, explaining that it was not a spore, but an essence that absorbed some of the power of the mutant plant. When the red-haired girl asked why this essence was needed, the young man smiled enigmatically and replied that she would find out soon. Becoming more serious, the guy offered to return to the public shower. The girl asked if he really wanted to make a purchase again. After returning, Yang Fan knew that the white crystal was 1,000 times more expensive than the gray one. But after buying the craftsman card, he wouldn't have much money left. The guy approached the gray merchant and told him to start the transaction process, and the space immediately began to transform. In addition to the craftsman card and potion, Yang Fan decided to buy a gun so that the girls could protect themselves and not waste his time. The main character was upset when he became poor again, because after the purchase, there were only 115 crystals left in his account. The guy handed Yan Yue 2 potions, one for each of the girls to raise their levels, and a gun so they could fight too. Yan Yue looked at him suspiciously, asking why she got a gun and not our hero, who also needs a gun. The main character grinned and replied that he had a craftsman card, and showed the girl his most expensive purchase. The guys went to the apartment of our hero's sister. Yan Yue noticed signs of a struggle and assumed that something had already happened to his sister. But Yang Fan got angry because of her words, ordered her to shut up, and stated that it was absolutely impossible. Duanmu had already searched the bed and told our hero that she found a mobile phone there. The main character screamed that it was his younger sister's phone when he looked at the smartphone found by the girl. The screen indicated that Ching Sui's sports bracelet had gone offline 15 minutes ago, and the guy suggested that they split up and look for his sister, because she couldn't have gone far in that time. It turned out that Ching Shui was being held hostage on the 7th floor of the building, and she and the two girls were tied to chairs by a gang of scoundrels. One of the bandits touched Ching Shui's face and said how good it was to witness the apocalypse. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to play with such an adorable student. Ching Sui started shouting for her brother to help, but the bandit laughed and said that her brother wouldn't be able to save her, only she could do it. The girl closed her tear-stained eyes, wishing she had listened to her brother, and opened the door to this bunch of criminals. Suddenly, the main character kicked down the door and shouted, ordering the criminals to stop climbing on his sister. Enraged, the boy ordered those scum to get their dirty hands off his little sister. Not sparing the criminal who touched his sister, Yang Fan screamed, wishing him to go to hell, and attacked him with his weapon. The blonde bandit, stretching his fists, told our hero that he was probably tired of life since he dared to deal with their brother. Preparing to fight on, our hero asked his sister not to be afraid, promising that he would get rid of these two villains. With a single swing of the sharp dagger, the guy dealt with the blonde criminal. The one who was still alive swung the knife with both hands and shouted that our hero was a crazy child. But a moment later, he lost his life from the same knife as him. But it was not our hero who dealt with him, but someone else. Yang Fan turned around and chuckled. Looking at his new companion, it turned out that it was she who threw the knife at the criminal. Only one of the gang of scoundrels was still alive, and he was terrified to see that his brothers were now dead, and he might be next. He fell on his knees before our hero, bowing his head before him, and begged for forgiveness, promising that he would not dare to behave like this again. Yang Fan asked his girlfriend not to feel guilty because the world was ending, and if she hadn't taken the scumbag's life, he would have done it to her. The main character went to his sister to free her. He used his sword to break the ropes. The terrified Ching Shui immediately threw herself into his arms. The guy calmed her down and apologized for being late. The other two girls expressed a desire to obey our hero and said that their safety now depends on him, but the guy refused. Yang Fan explained that it was the end of the world, so he wasn't going to keep an eye on trash like them. The guy said that if they weren't strong enough on their own, they would still end up like the girls who were lying nearby. Duanmu finally came and asked our hero what had happened and if he had managed to find his little sister. The main character grinned, replied that he had found his sister, so now they need to move on. The rejected girls, looking after them, assumed that the guy did not take them with him because those ladies looked prettier than them. On the second floor, the guys went out on the balcony and saw how many zombies were chasing them. Yang Fan said that he would go down first to deal with the monsters. He leapt down from the balcony with his weapon at the ready, trying to get more crystal cores. The first guy who turned into a zombie, he first attacked not with a weapon, but with his knee, jumping up off the ground. After that, our young hero already used his new sword, bought for crystals, and one swing of them was enough to take the life of a zombie. The sister had been shouting something in support of him all this time. Yang Fan allowed them to go down because the zombie problem had already been solved. The boys got into the car and set off, the streets still swarming with zombies that roamed in search of new victims. Ching Sui clutched her stomach as he growled loudly due to hunger. After all, the apocalypse hadn't even given him a chance to eat. So Yang Fan told Yan Yue to stop here to go to the supermarket. Ching Sui doubted if it was worth it. After all, there are a lot of zombies there. Duanmu agreed that we should stock up on water and food, so she suggested that we go through the back entrance to the supermarket so as not to cross paths with the zombies. Yan Yue grinned and told the guys to hold on tight, intending to enter the supermarket through the back entrance. She turned sharply to the left near the supermarket building, where one of the zombies, who until recently was just a store employee, was already waiting for them. The main character was the first to get out of the car. He told the girls that he would go ahead of everyone, and they should stay behind. With one blow, the guy took the life of the monster with such force that his green cap flew off the zombie. The children managed to get to the supermarket. The store had not only food but also backpacks and clothes. Yan Yue offered to rest here today because there is a lot of food and no zombies, and Ching Shui enthusiastically shouted that she found her favorite chips and soda here. Duanmu was wary as she adjusted her glasses and said that there must be a lot of zombies in a place like a supermarket. She also noticed that the crowd of zombies that stayed outside seemed to be rushing here because they were attracted to something in the store. Ching Sui, after collecting food, shouted to her older brother that she saw blood. Yang Fan immediately turned his attention to his sister. They saw a huge puddle and food strewn on it. Now it was clear why there were so many monsters near the door. Duanmu decided to check if it was really blood and who it belonged to, so she took some with her finger. The girl realized that the blood belongs to a person, so she told the guys to be careful, and our hero, meanwhile, noticed something. Yang Fan readied his sword to fight. He told the girls to move back and find a safe place. The guy moved closer to the windows, behind which there was a whole army of zombies. Near the window lay a piece of meat and blood, which attracted them. After seeing this, Yang Fan deduced that someone had deliberately spilled blood in the store to attract monsters here. Duanmu said that this is a good way to protect yourself, because there is a lot of food in the store, and a crowd of zombies will not let even a person enter here. Yan Yue approached our hero and told him that she and his sister found 2 backpacks that were filled with food. The guy thought that he should find a place where he could store a lot more food, because these 2 backpacks would obviously not be enough. The main character became alert when he turned around and noticed something dangerous in this supermarket. It turned out that they were being followed through surveillance cameras all this time. The man, looking at the monitor, asked the girl if Yang Fan was her ex-boyfriend. Dressed in a rabbit costume, Zhao Yunrong replied to the man that it wasn't her ex-boyfriend, but her brother Long, who was the only one in her heart. She complained to him that Yang Fan is a very strange guy, because in the morning, he said that the world of the strongest begins. Brother Long grabbed her face and asked if she was sure her ex-boyfriend had said that. Zhao Yunrong was angry at her ex-boyfriend, seeing that he had a new girlfriend and left her at the hotel, and now she was caught to serve this pervert. The girl looked at the monitor and noticed that the red-haired lady who was accompanying her ex was armed with a pistol. She warned Brother Long that the woman's gun was probably valuable, and the man agreed that it was a good thing. Upset, she complained to the man that those women who accompany her ex-boyfriend look beautiful. A gang of guards, armed, went to take revenge on our hero. One of them was wounded by Yang Fan earlier, because of which the villain was almost killed by zombies. At the head of them was Brother Long, holding a cigarette in his mouth. In his hand was a metal bat to deal with our heroes. The main character has already noticed that a video surveillance camera is hanging on the wall in the supermarket. He told the girls to rest here for the time being, and he would go and pack some things. As he passed by Yan Yue, he quietly warned the girl that someone was watching them, so they had to pretend that they weren't together. The guy whispered something in the red-haired girl's ear, giving her instructions on what to do next. The main character left the girls and decided to walk around the supermarket alone, bypassing the scattered food packages and bottles. He remembered that in his previous life, a bottle of water cost 4 crystals and a bottle of soda as much as 20, so he decided to use the ring to collect useful items. Right now, his ring only had a storage area of 1 square meter, and he wanted to improve it as soon as possible so that he could store more things there. Suddenly, he grabbed a water bottle and didn't put it in storage, but threw it directly at the security camera. After that, the guy went to the shelf where fast food was stored and activated his mythical ring. Yang Fan ordered the ring to absorb all the food he had collected, and it began to suck in water and various snacks. Just then, an armed bandit appeared behind him and shouted, reminding the guy that he had previously dared to touch Lao Tzu. The knife that the scoundrel threw at our hero landed on the shelf, and Yang Fan, grinning, turned around and asked if this was a surprise attack. The main character was noticeably surprised when he saw Long in front of him. This man he perfectly remembered from his previous life. Long, calling our hero a dog, praised him for his bravery, because he risked breaking into his place and stealing from him. The man ordered his younger brothers to cripple him, and the boys rushed forward to attack Yang Fan. But this only caused our hero to grin. He attacked the villains with his elbows and said that they were very weak. The bandits were shocked to see Yang Fan's abilities. Brother Long didn't understand why this dog was so good at fighting. Long advised the guy not to be so arrogant because his subordinates will already capture those 3 girls, and they will not be well off if Yang Fan attacks him. The villains were startled when they heard a woman's voice behind them asking what they were going to do to her. It was Yan Yue who dragged the bandit by the hair, saying that these small bugs attacked them while our hero was not around, as he predicted. Shocked Long, seeing that his entire gang was defeated, was scared and sweated from fear of our heroes. He immediately collapsed to his knees and begged Yang Fan not to kill him, saying that it was Zhao Yunrong who made him do it. The man decided to take advantage of this moment to grab his bat and take the life of our hero, who dared to make a fool of him. Brother Long stood up abruptly, swung an iron stick, and shouted at the smelly boy, warning him that he was about to take his life. But our hero intercepted the man's weapon with his hand and took away a metal bat from him. Yang Fan decided to cripple the scoundrel with his own weapon, making it so that he would no longer attempt to attack him. After being severely injured, Long collapsed to his knees and screamed, demanding that Yang Fan let go of him. Otherwise, he would make the guy suffer. Someone from the Long gang has already gone on the run, shouting that our hero is a monster, and the second guy started begging Yang Fan to forgive him. Yan Yue stared dumbfounded at the man's crippled hand and thought that it was cool that our hero could use that crafting thing like this. The main character looked at the defeated Brother Long with disdain. He asked if the man was going to kill him. The guy smiled slyly and agreed to let the man go. But before that, he activated his magic abilities and had an effect on his arm. He used magic power to take Brother Long's life, then turned around and told someone to report it to the royal hall. Yan Yue was upset as she looked at the defeated man, wondering when she would be able to master magic abilities as well. The rest of the surviving bandits bowed their heads before our hero and began to beg on their knees that he would forgive them. Admitting his mistake, Yan Yue asked the guy to let these men live, even though they were disgusting, and tried to attack them. The main character told the two surviving villains to get out of here. They listened to him literally and thanked him for the pardon. Afterward, Yang Fan warily looked to the side and asked someone if she liked what she was hearing right now. He turned to his ex-girlfriend Zhao Yunrong. It turned out that she was hiding around the corner all this time and listening, and the guy knew it. The girl ran away and went to the office, to the room where the computers are located, from which they used to watch the guys through video surveillance cameras. She went to the computer, thinking that her ex-boyfriend should also lose his life if such a fate was prepared for her. Zhao Yunrong didn't believe that our hero has immortality, so she decided to open the front doors of the supermarket. An automatic loudspeaker greeted the customers, and a whole crowd of soulless zombies burst through the store's doors. Yan Yue immediately started looking for the control room to close the door back. She went to one of the doors, assuming it was there. As soon as the red-haired girl opened the door, the ex-girlfriend of our hero tried to pounce on her, wishing her death. Zhao Yunrong tried to attack Yan Yue with a metal bat, but the red-haired girl jumped back in time. The potion significantly improved Yan Yue's agility, so she grabbed our hero's ex-girlfriend by the neck, saying that she knew that she would try to attack her. Yang Fan's ex-girlfriend had been bound and neutralized, and now she was sitting in the shop's control room completely helpless. She started shouting to be released, but Yan Yue, who was sitting at the computer, told her to shut her smelly mouth because she had more important things to do right now. Yan Yue screamed at the main character that she couldn't close the supermarket doors, and the bloodthirsty zombies kept breaking in. Yang Fan replied that it was nothing to worry about, and he would deal with this problem. He dealt with every zombie with a sword. A red-haired girl brought her hostage to our hero. Zhao Yunrong started complaining to Yang Fan about how evil this Yan Yue is, and begged for rescue. Yan Yue asked Zhao Yunrong if she was all right in the head after all. It was she who opened the door to the supermarket, and now asked the guy for rescue. The main character touched the face of his ex-girlfriend and with a sly smile asked if it was true that she helped them. Zhao Yunrong snuggled up to her ex-boyfriend and started lying that she had always loved him, but he looked at her in disbelief. Yang Fan looked at the girl with crazy eyes and stated that in that case, she could go and help him kill Long again. The girl was shocked. She screamed when our hero just pushed her out of the store into the clutches of bloodthirsty zombies. Zhao Yunrong screamed loudly for help, and a crowd of monsters immediately pounced on her. But the girl's hands were tied. Finally, the girl leaned against the glass and shouted to her ex-boyfriend that she would never forgive him for this act. Kingsway breathed a sigh of relief. She called Zhao Yunrong a bad woman who scared her to death, so still wanted to hurt her brother. Yan Yue said that although it was terrible, but it was nice to watch, and asked if it was really the ex-girlfriend of our hero. The girl said that on the second floor there is a hostel for supermarket employees, and offered to take a shower and relax there today. Kingsway and the rest of the girls went up to the second floor to take a shower after an exhausting day. Finally feeling comfortable, Duanmu was glad that she had drunk the potion, thanks to which she no longer needed to wear glasses. She was very comfortable. Meanwhile, the main character was still controlling his ring. He ordered to close the storage in which he collects food. The guy collected all possible products from the supermarket shelves, stuffing them into the magic storage in his ring. Yang Fan clenched his fist and the vault finally closed. The supermarket became completely empty. The guy took absolutely everything. The next day, in the early morning, the three surviving youths went to the supermarket door to get food. They unceremoniously broke into the store and found that the supermarket was completely empty. There was nothing on the shelves. One of the guys was dumbfounded, not understanding what had happened, because there were no traces of any products on the shelves. Frustrated, the muscular guy collapsed on the floor and complained that it wasn't fair, that someone had taken all the food, and the third thought it was all a bit strange because everything was very clean. The third guy walked on and was startled when he noticed that the store had a green marble staircase leading up to the second floor. He immediately informed his buddies that the supermarket had a second floor, while Chubby was still trying to find food on the shelves. The muscular guy told Chubby Sinan to lead the way when they went up to the second floor. He was clearly afraid, but he agreed. When Sinan opened the door, he was horrified, because he was immediately met with a sharp blade in his face and an order not to move. A dumbfounded, sweaty fat man asked our hero to let them live because they are not zombies. Now the guys were not surprised that the supermarket was completely empty. They were shocked by the speed and abilities of the main character. The guys turned around and saw that someone else was in the store. The second door opened. A red-haired girl appeared on the threshold. It was the bewildered Yan Yue who asked the protagonist who these three unfamiliar guys were. Sinan burst into tears and began to ask for help from the girl, admitting that he just came to find canned food. The other guys also demanded that Yang Fan put away the weapon, but Yang Fan kept Chubby in suspense for now, as he slowly drew the sharp edge of the blade along his head. Our hero finally put away his weapons and allowed the guys to leave here, saying that there was nothing to eat here anyway. The muscular young man was indignant and shouted, not believing that there was no food here because the girl had a large backpack stuffed with something on her shoulders. The second guy smiled maliciously, looking at our heroes with a predatory look, and said that such a backpack with food would last them for several days. The two boys stared in horror at the wall behind them as a knife flew into it a moment later, narrowly missing their heads. It was Yan Yue who threw the knife in their direction and protested, telling them to slow down if they wanted to steal her food. The muscular guy was terrified because he almost died because of this girl's knife. He was very scared. The second young man grabbed his friend by the hand and began to justify himself to the beauty, saying that this was a misunderstanding, and his brother did not shine with intelligence. By agreement, they decided that they would not attack our heroes now, but would obey and wait for a convenient opportunity to pick up the backpack. Sinan started to make excuses that he wasn't in the same gang as those bullies. He just came to get canned food for his cat, and was willing to exchange something for it. Puzzled, Yan Yue asked the chubby guy why he suddenly needed cat food. She was taken aback when an animal rushed past her because its speed was mind-blowing. She, the cat, jumped on the owner's shoulders and Sinan patted her and asked her not to cause trouble or steal from others. The guy treated his cat to a sausage. She meowed quite a lot. The cat had an unusual spot in the form of a lightning bolt on her forehead. Yan Yue asked if it was his cat, while Shi was crying because she was very hungry because of the apocalypse. The girl was shocked to learn from Sinan that there was no more food in the supermarket, and our hero lied, saying that there was traffic downstairs at night, so someone probably stole the food. Qingsui's eyes shone with delight when she saw the cat on the guy's shoulder. She exclaimed, "What a beautiful pet!" She asked if she could hug the cat, but her older brother forbade her, saying that it was a mutated animal. Sinan was outraged and shouted that her cat was good and she didn't turn into a monster. The younger sister of our hero grabbed his hand, trying to prove that this cat is good, and she wants to touch it, but he did not allow it in any way. Qingsui took offense at her brother, stuck out her tongue at him, and contrary to his prohibition, picked up the cat to cuddle it. The two of them started teasing the main character, Qingsui calling him a bad brother while hugging the Shishir cat. The girl was delighted with the fluffy pet. She praised its smooth coat and promised that she would give half of her snacks to her. Outside, Sinan asked Yan Yue if they would like to go back to the base with him. She said no, because they still have a lot to do. Qingsui was upset that she would have to say goodbye to the cat now, so she gave the pet a final hug and said, "Bye-bye." The main character was holding his sword at the ready when he heard someone's cry for help. A black motorcycle was approaching them. Yang Fan's younger sister, Sinan, and her cat were dumbfounded as they looked ahead and realized what was happening. It turned out that those guys were forced to return to the supermarket on a motorcycle because they were being chased by a whole horde of zombies. The guys started asking for help, and our heroes were outraged that they brought all the zombies here, putting them in danger. The hooligans admitted that they did the wrong thing, but now they begged that our heroes would save them and did not leave them here. But then these guys looked at each other with their sly eyes. They clearly had a different plan in mind. The muscular guy, threatening Yan Yue with a knife, pushed her forward to take the zombie's blow. The second one did the same to Qingsui. The short-haired scoundrel did not expect that in a moment the main character would grab his hand, in which he holds a knife. Yang Fan looked at him with disdain and said that he always knew that he wasn't acting with the best of intentions. The guy fell to his knees and screamed loudly in pain. Because our hero grabbed him by the arm very tightly, he shouted to let him go. Meanwhile, the second bully was trying to take away Qingsui's backpack of food. The girl and Sinan Duanmu were helping her defend her property. The green-jacketed scoundrel clenched his teeth as hard as he could, his face turning red as he tried to snatch the backpack out of the boys' hands. He tried to deceive them and shouted while pointing his finger that there were zombie dogs. Qingsui and Sinan turned around, believing him. The man took advantage of this and finally snatched the backpack out of the girl's hands, shouting and calling her a smelly girl. The scoundrel managed to put a backpack on his shoulders, get on his motorcycle and say goodbye to his friend, leaving him alone there. Exultantly, he shouted goodbye to the dumbasses and thanked them for blocking him from the zombie dogs by themselves. The bewildered protagonist turned around and saw that a mutation-infected dog was actually running behind him. Qingsui was very scared for her brother when she saw the zombie dog. She screamed, trying to warn him. The short-haired scoundrel was taken aback when our hero tightened his grip on his arm and dragged him along. Yang Fan threw the guy directly at this dog to slow down the mutated animals and give them a victim to attack. A pack of zombie dogs pounced on the bully, and the main character told his companions to quickly hide in the car. But Yan Yue was not going to leave our hero alone. Before that, She asked her best friend to hold her backpack. A red-haired girl on a par with Yang Fan got into a fight with a pack of mutant dogs, using a knife, and said that these dogs are not so strong. The other guys got back in the car and hit one of the zombie dogs, shouting for Yang Fan and Yan Yue to get in the car as well. They opened the door. Qingsui once again shouted for her brother to get in the car quickly, but he was still brandishing his sword. Having dealt with several dogs, the red-haired girl and the main character still decided to protect themselves by returning to the car. As Yang Fan was running, he turned around and once again looked at one of the monsters that had pounced on them. He was visibly startled when he saw the mutated level 2 zombie dog in front of him. It was much bigger than the previous ones. Yan Yue got in the car, and the guy decided to stay to fight the monster. The girl advised him to hurry up. While running away from a giant mutated dog, our hero screamed at Sinan, who was driving, to get away from here. Sinan agreed to leave here with the girls first, leaving the main character to fight a huge zombie dog of the second level. Yan Yue shouted indignantly, demanding that Sinan stop the car, and she helped Yang Fan. His little sister also wanted the girl to help him. Duanmu tried to reason with her friend, telling her not to be impulsive and that she should listen to what Yang Fan was saying to them. Meanwhile, Yang Fan held up a weapon to protect himself from the dog when it tried to hit him with its paw. The zombie dog's paw was so strong that it knocked our hero to the ground. The guy fell on the asphalt with his back, still covering himself with a weapon. Yang Fan looked at the mutant dog baring its sharp teeth at him without fear in his eyes and asked if it wanted to eat him. Gripping the hilt of the weapon more tightly, the protagonist stated that he believes that his second-level blade has a different opinion on this matter. With one deft strike, Yang Fan dealt with the monster by swinging his sharp blade and left the zombie dog no chance of survival. The guy was happy when he got the white core from the zombie dog, because it can be exchanged for as many as 1,000 gray crystal cores. Our hero visibly tensed up when he noticed out of the corner of his eye that a whole pack of mutated dogs was approaching him. He knew that even though the giant level 2 dog had been killed, these small ones would attract more and more zombies here. The guy held his blade ready to fight off the monsters while the black car came back. The rear passenger door opened and there was Yan Yue, who reached out and shouted for the guy to get in the car. The main character grabbed her hand to help him jump into the car on the move and protect himself from a pack of zombie dogs. The red-haired girl's cheeks turned pink with embarrassment as she felt our hero's touch. Yang Fan successfully got into the car and closed the door. The driver immediately drove off. Now the pack of zombie dogs was behind. The main character shouted to the little fat man to go faster, and the dogs lost sight of them. Sinan didn't argue. The driver stepped on the gas pedal and the car shot forward, leaving behind clouds of smoke, and the zombie dogs chased the car. Qingsui looked at the backseat in fright. She noticed that Yan Yue was seriously injured after the encounter with the monsters. The others were also scared when they noticed that Yan Yue had become ill. Her friend shouted that the girl had lost a lot of blood. Yan Yue was noticeably ill, but she tried to convince the guys that everything was fine, and her old wound just reopened after fighting the zombies. Qingsui shouted indignantly, asking the girl how she could say that she was fine after losing so much blood. The main character immediately began to examine the girl's wound. She was afraid and asked the guy what he was doing. Yang Fan pulled down the girl's shorts to see how serious her thigh injury was. The entire seat was smeared with blood. The guy made disappointing conclusions that the girl really lost a lot of blood, and the wound continues to bleed. Yang Fan, worried about the condition of his companion, thought that he should go to the merchants to exchange medicines for her. The young man took off his jacket, handed it to Duanmu, and told her to use it to help her stop the bleeding. Our hero told Sinan to go to the pharmacy, but he replied that he would not come out because all the pharmacies have already been looted. But the doctor and medicines are on the base. Hearing that there was an opportunity to see a doctor, Yang Fan roused himself and told the driver to go to that safe place as soon as possible. Sinan stepped on the gas pedal and said that in 2 intersections they would already be there. And this place is located in the area of the largest shopping centers. Soon the car of our heroes was already near the safe base. It was a high, modern building. The main character got out of the car and looked at this building in surprise, which made him remember his past life. Last time, because of Long's bullying, it took the guy a month to get here and get medical treatment. He decided that this time he should definitely save the doctor, who tragically died in a previous life after helping our hero. The girls helped Yan Yue to get to the building. They asked her to hold on, promising that the doctor would help her. The girl replied that she felt quite tolerant. Sinan was agitated. He shouted while pointing at the entrance of the building and told the girls to hurry up and follow him. The guy approached the guys who were standing at the entrance and asked them to open the door as soon as possible, because he had brought a wounded girl with him. The guards refused, saying that they did not need the wounded here because perhaps the girl was bitten by a zombie and flatly refused to let them in. Yan Wei was indignant and shouted that it was not a zombie bite but a knife cut, showing them the wound, and her friend tried to calm her down. One of the guards flatly refused to let them in, and his companion smiled mysteriously and asked his friend to wait. He charged each of our hers 100 gray crystals for admission, and the wounded girl 1,000. The main character showed his crystals and said that he didn't have that amount, but he had a white crystal that could be exchanged for 1,000 gray ones. The guard was shocked to receive all the crystals from our hero, exclaiming that they were now rich, and his friend wished that he had asked for 2,000 instead of 1,000. The guys agreed to let the guys into the base. They reluctantly opened the gate leading to a safe place. But all this time they were holding knives behind their backs. They planned to deal with our heroes as soon as they entered to get even more crystals. Yang Fan stared at the guards and became suspicious when he saw that they were hiding something behind their backs. Disgruntled guards told the guys to move, and our hero saw the glint of a knife in the glass doors behind them. The main character had a mysterious grin on his face as he asked the guards if they were planning to take his life. Yang Fan decided to go ahead. He took out his blade and said that these scoundrels are not strong enough for this. One of the guards did not even have time to blink, as he received a fatal blow with a blade from our hero, and was neutralized. The red-haired guy collapsed on the floor. His friend was afraid for him, but did not notice that Yang Fan was going to deal with him as well. An enraged guard swung a knife and shouted, asking our hero how he dared to do this to his brother, and that now he would take revenge on him in the same way. But after a moment he froze, because Yan Yue had already crept up behind him and took his life with a single stab, saying that he would not have the chance to take revenge anymore. The girl clutched at the wound and complained of pain. Our hero scolded her for showing off her strength, even though he could handle these guys himself. The main character told his little sister to take his bag, check the pockets of the guards, and appropriate everything that she finds. Kingsue's eyes shone with joy when she was given the opportunity, and she replied that she was a master at it. The girl handed her older brother a bag with his crystals. He was happy to return the honestly earned colored stones. King Shui examined the guard's bag and complained that they were beggars because she found they had too few crystals. Sinan was uneasy, already planning to get away from these guys when things settled down because they weren't as friendly as they seemed to him before. Suddenly, the main character turned around and addressed the people who were hiding nearby, making it clear that he knows that there is someone else here. He told the security camera that they could go down, and he was right, because someone was watching them. Soon there was a loud sound of applause. A man in a light shirt appeared on the street who heard the appeal of our hero. It was a man surrounded by a crowd of armed security guards who told Yang Fan that he was brave and determined, and asked what his name was. The guy honestly introduced himself to him as Yang Fan, who said that people call him General Leopard, the head of the security business, and now the leader of this base. The man admitted that he still lacks the male strength in the team, and asked if our hero would mind joining him. Yang Fan suggested that we talk about it later because he brought along an injured girlfriend who needs urgent medical attention. General Leopard immediately ordered his shaven-headed subordinate to take our heroes to the doctor. The man understood that this Yang Fan kid was a real talent, and if he worked for him, his base would definitely become stronger. A shaven-headed bodyguard led our heroes to the base's medical department and allowed the crowd to enter. Qingshui, like the others, was at a loss, because this was a shop in front of them, not a hospital, and they doubted whether there would be a doctor there. Yang Fan and his injured girlfriend went inside. The guy immediately asked if there was anyone here and said they needed a doctor. An elderly man with glasses taking notes at a desk confessed that he was a doctor and asked to bring a patient to him. The main character, after seeing the doctor, realized that this is not the girl who saved him in his previous life, which means that she has not yet reached this base. The doctor, after examining Yan Yue, ruled that she was injured by a sharp weapon, lost a lot of blood, and a blood transfusion and tetanus shot would cost them 5,000 crystals. Sinan couldn't hide his indignation. He shouted that this was real extortion and asked the doctor if he even had a conscience. The doctor shouted back at them to get out of here if they didn't want to pay, because it would only hinder his business. But then the blue curtain opened and someone else's voice was heard, saying that he would take the treatment if the doctor did not want to do it for free. The main character looked dumbfounded at the man who entered this room, promising his girlfriend free medical care. A girl appeared in front of him, and he immediately recognized her as the doctor who had saved him in his previous life. The doctor was indignant when the girl began to examine Yan Yue, saying that the wound was not deep, just a few cuts, so a lot of blood was lost. The man shouted, asking her if she knew how much medical supplies cost, and accused her of acting illegally. She replied that she was a doctor, and it was her sacred duty. She could not let a person die, and he should complain about her to Leopard if he has complaints. The doctor swung his arm at her, shouting at her to stop immediately because he was the head of this hospital, and she thought she was someone else. The main character intercepted the angry doctor's hand and asked who gave him the right to touch the girl. And did he really want to be left without hands? The man decided to retreat and leave, saying that the guys would still pay for this, and he would immediately go to complain to General Leopard. Yanue thanked the girl for her help, and the doctor asked the others to wait outside while she applied stitches. Sinan and the others stared at our hero in shock when he asked the doctor if she wanted to be his girlfriend. He knew that he owed this girl too much for saving him in the past, so he wouldn't let her die again. Jinxue covered her mouth in shock. She couldn't believe that her big brother had suddenly confessed to a stranger, and Sinan didn't understand how many more girls our hero needed. The doctor replied to the guy that they are not yet so close friends. She was amazed that they just met. And this dissolute young man already offers to meet. Yang Fan suggested that she get to know each other better. The girl replied that it was tactless, and Yan Yue remained silent, hiding her jealousy. The doctor got angry and told the guy to leave the office because his girlfriend needs urgent medical attention. After a while, the girl left the ward and allowed the children to enter, reassuring them with the news that everything was fine with Yan Yue. Everyone was happy that Yan Yue was now fine, and the doctor told her to limit her sudden movements and come to remove the stitches in 5 days. Yang Fan turned around when he heard a man yell, who complained to the boss that they refused to pay for treatment. Leopard and his subordinates came. The boss told our hero that medicines are very expensive, so the treatment is expensive. The guy asked if it wasn't a scam to demand 5,000 crystals for a small cut, even though he didn't say that he refused to pay. The heads of the base were outraged when the main character suggested that they just intended to fool him. One of the bodyguards pointed a gun at Yang Fan and shouted, asking how dare he talk to the boss like that. Our hero decided to use his craftsman card, and the guard was shocked to see that the guy was working on his gun. Yang Fan admitted that most of all he hates people who point a gun at him, and the man was shocked to see that his gun was folded in half. Leopard started cheering, saying he didn't expect the guy to have superpowers, and promised free treatment for his girlfriend if he worked for him. But, according to him, anyone who broke the rules should be punished, and Gao Lian with skills in the earth element and Wu Mei-du with fire superpowers will help him in this. Gao Lian used an earth trap against the doctor, and Wu Mei-du used Grimfire, sending a flaming cloud at the girl. The girl was very scared because she couldn't move because of the ground that the man surrounded her with his magic abilities. The main character shouted out Lin Miao Chun's name and reached out his hand for her to grab onto, and he pulled her out of the trap. The guy pulled her out by the arm, and just in time, because a moment later, a loud explosion thundered in the place where she was standing. Yang Fan grabbed the girl's waist to keep her from falling, and dropped his blade in surprise. He was afraid, because the doctor would have died again anymore. And Lin Miaochun realized that he was a capable guy, and not just a womanizer. He knew that there was no guarantee that he would be able to deal with these two superpowers right now. And he knew that the same enemies were waiting for him in the future. So he told General Leopard that he was willing to join him and strengthen his base with his superpowers. But the man had to spare the doctor. General Leopard agreed to spare the girl, and said that our hero's willingness to help his base is a completely different matter. Yang Fan grinned as he thought that the man didn't seem to know anything about the master's profession yet, so he could take advantage of it. He said that he can create weapons for their army, but for this he needs crystals, metal, natural essence. Leopard was happy to conclude this deal. He offered in return our hero a drug that will increase his level to the second, and all the necessary materials. The man ordered his subordinate to prepare housing for the main character and his team, who agreed to comply with the order. Duanmu asked the guy if he was sure he wanted to stay here because the leopard boss didn't trust her. Yang Fan replied that they would just wait for Yan Yue to get better, gather their strength, and leave here, taking their crystals and materials for themselves. General Leopard went to the boss's office, which was tightly guarded by 2 bodyguards standing outside. The boss told his subordinates to keep an eye on our hero. He offered to turn him into a slave who would constantly make weapons for them. Wu Mei-do praised her boss, saying that General Leopard always comes up with such awesome plans. The bodyguard brought our heroes to their new home, saying that all the dorm rooms were already occupied. Golian said that Yang Fan would be living somewhere else. And then the guy realized that they wanted to separate them so that he would be blackmailed using his friends. He thought that it was a pity that his opponents were overestimating their strength, because he easily managed to see through their plan. The protagonist's little sister didn't agree to live separately from him, so she told her brother that she would go with him. Kowlin told the girl not to even think about it, because her brother will live in a secret vault filled with treasures. Yang Fan calmed his sister down by patting her head and told her to have a good rest, and he would definitely come back for her soon. A man working for the leopard boss brought our hero to the vault by entering the password on the lock. Gaolian showed him the safe, saying that there were 5,000 gray crystals in it, and the chief wanted him to use them first. The man warned the guy that if he did not succeed, he would have to say goodbye to life, as well as to his friends. Yang Fan realized that these guys had a lot of weapons with firepower, since they managed to get so many crystals in such a short period of time. Gaolian said that there are other materials on the other side of the vault, but they are not sure if they are suitable for making weapons. The main character saw a bunch of artifacts that the base soldiers took with them after the battles. He was allowed to see if there was anything useful there. The guy decided that from these things he could make cool equipment for the team. There were skulls and skeletons of mutants, Yang Fan told the big guy that he preferred to work alone, so he asked him to go out and wait outside. Gao Lian agreed, but warned that the vault was made of thick sheets of metal that wouldn't even be afraid of a bomb, so the guy shouldn't pull any tricks. The main character realized that those guys do not know the true value of these things, including the white-level mutation horn, space mineral, and much more. From the space mineral, he decided to make a cubic chain for storing supplies, and the rest will be suitable for creating equipment. The guy picked out a few items from the pile, spread them out on the floor, and started feeding them with his energy. He managed to make a long mountain sword, scanner glasses, a protective shield, an ultra-thin bulletproof vest, a pistol, and a spatial chain. The main character sat down on the floor and sighed heavily from fatigue. He made a lot of items at one time. It was beyond his capabilities. Yang Fan decided to hide all these items in the storage area in his ring for now, so that they wouldn't attract too much attention. He also took all the crystals from the safe, putting them in storage, and said that it would be very stupid to leave them here. The bodyguard standing outside the vault asked the deputy boss if he thought our hero could make weapons out of these materials. Gao Lian replied that Yang Fan only had one rare superpower in the world, so he was unlikely to be able to do their job. He added that, however, Yang Fan is accompanied by beauties who look silly, and he would like to get to know them better. The man was dumbfounded when the metal door of the vault was knocked open by someone breaking through. It was Yang Fan who had warned the deputy boss that if he dared to touch his friends, he would take his life without regret. He told him to memorize his words and go check the weapon. Gao Lian warned the guy that he would lose his life if the weapon did not meet the standards. Gao Lian was shocked to see that our hero created as many as 10 mountain swords for 3,600 gray crystals and worthless artifacts, which is much cheaper than buying them from merchants. The main character told the deputy boss that, given his current level of strength, he can craft up to 10 weapons a day. The man decided to test the mountain blade created by the guy. He cut a wooden pillar in one deft movement. Gao Lian decided not to touch the guy yet, because the weapon is first class, but still believed that no one can stop him from touching his beauties. Yang Fan demanded to be taken to his friends because he had fulfilled his end of the bargain, and it was their turn to be honest. The deputy boss told the bodyguard to take the main character to his team, who meekly agreed to carry out the order. A security guard in a dark suit led our hero to the room where his friends were resting, Yang Fan holding his mountain blade at the ready. As he approached the door, Yang Fan thought about the fact that the chief would give him a potion to make him evolve to the second level, and made even more weapons. When the main character entered the room, he put the girls in an awkward position, because they were just changing clothes. Duanmu covered herself up and complained about the guy not knocking on the door before entering. Her friend was also embarrassed. Ignoring them, Yang Fan took out the equipment he had created for the team from the storage in the ring. King Sui's eyes shone with delight as she started to look at everything. And first of all, she asked about the necklace in her brother's hand. She grabbed that necklace and started waving it around, demanding that more items fall out of it. Her brother explained to her that it was a cosmic necklace that contained the cubic matter of the cosmos, and you could put anything in it. He also showed the girls a second-class pistol and scanning glasses that can be used to analyze objects. Duanmu got the points and immediately tested them, and her friend got a gun with endless rounds. Both of them were happy. At this moment, Sinan just entered the room. He was surprised to see our hero, who said that the guy came just in time. He was shocked when he received a first-class shield from Yang Fan, which increases in size and can protect against attackers below the first level. Yang Fan also gave Lin Miaochun a first-class silk body armor, which also serves as protection against monsters. Stammering, the blushing girl thanked the guy for the gift, and she wondered why he didn't make this armor more modest. Gao Lian brought the boss a weapon that our hero created. He said it looked like a first-class weapon, but he didn't know how they would use it. General Leopard startled his girls when he abruptly grabbed one of the blades in his hand and was about to check if it was a good weapon. He swung the sharp blade and smashed the marble table in two with a single blow. The quality of the weapon created was confirmed. The boss realized that it was profitable to cooperate with our hero. So he told the deputy to send people tomorrow to get another 3,600 crystals to create weapons. Gao Lian replied that it wasn't a problem and asked if they could now capture our hero's companions so that he could always make weapons for them. General Leopard told the deputy to take his time, thinking that the main character would still not be able to escape from him. Early the next morning, several motorbikes left the base, and armed men went hunting for zombies. The boss also armed them with Yang Fan-made blades because the bullets will run out sooner or later, and melee weapons will be used. Yang Fan saw that the boss's fighters were equipped with American submachine guns, and now it was no wonder that they had obtained so many useful materials. The main character deduced that General Leopard is happy with the weapons he created for the base yesterday. Sinan woke up and jumped out of bed, and our hero turned back when someone knocked loudly on the door and announced that the base was already here. The guy went to the door, opened it, and was noticeably surprised when he saw a girl on the threshold. It was Lin Miao-chun who informed our hero that there were already people sitting in the living room led by Haomei, the boss's mistress. Yang Fan went to the living room to meet the uninvited guests, and there was actually a girl sitting in the chair. It was Haomei, who said that she was already waiting for our hero, and said that the material for creating weapons was already ready. This took the main character by surprise. He admitted that he had not fully recovered yet, because it was only noon on the clock. But actually, the guy liked the boss's ambition, because he sent people to get materials, and forces him to make weapons as soon as possible, and this was beneficial to him. The girl asked him to stop being angry, just wait or go to his room. She was wondering how many special weapons the guy would make for her when she dazzled him with her beauty. She didn't expect that in a moment, our hero would grab her hand so that it wouldn't touch his face and tell her that he needed to leave in the morning. Haomei asked why he was going out and said that she wanted to go with him. She decided to become even more charming, because the guy obviously didn't care about her. The main character asked if he understood correctly that there should be merchants nearby because their base is large. The girl replied that there were merchants in the territory, but the guy would have to pay 3,000 crystals for each use. Yang Fan was outraged that they were demanding so many crystals, but he told himself to calm down, because the expense would pay off. The guy told Haomei to show him the merchant first, because he needed medicine, and Haomei agreed to show him around. Our hero and the boss's mistress went to the men's and women's toilets, and 4 armed soldiers were waiting for them at the entrance. The blue-haired girl told the soldiers to open the doors because the man wanted to use the merchant's services. Yang Fan realized that he needed to be more careful because he was surrounded by 4 soldiers with submachine guns, so he walked up to the merchant. The guy was happy when he saw a second-level merchant in front of him, which meant that there was something in the assortment that he needed. The main character handed the soldier a small gray bag, saying that there are 3,000 gray crystals for using the merchant's services. The soldier checked the crystals for authenticity and warned that for this amount, he would only be able to use the merchant's services for 5 minutes. Yang Fan told the white-robed merchant to open the transaction, and blue pixels immediately appeared in the air. After seeing the assortment, it was no surprise that Leopard was letting people near the merchants, since the boss was buying all the potions and products. The main character saw a card with a challenge arena that had a mechanical bear on it. He saw that the challenge had already been failed twice. From his past life, he knew that rare merchants had trials that were needed to build up their strength and upgrade their equipment. Yang Fan pressed the button, wanting to take part in the arena challenge as well. Fighting a huge mechanical bear, he immediately began to move to another space. The guy decided to take a chance, knowing that there might be an unexpected turn. Streaks of bright blue light surrounded his body, and he began to fly down, landing on the floor of the battle arena. When the main character landed, his energy flashed with a bright flash like a lot of lightning. The smoke began to clear, and he saw a circular battle arena with high walls in front of him, so he couldn't escape. He knew that time flowed differently in the challenge arena than outside, so he had 50 minutes to complete the task. The main character was visibly frightened when he looked in front of him, and the monster that he had to fight finally appeared in front of him. It was a giant metal-armored bear that immediately began to rampage and growl, baring its sharp fangs. The guy readied his weapon, emitting a bright blue light. He decided to attack the enemy first, already set up for battle. The first attack was blocked by the bear. When it waved its paw, Yang Fan was hit by the opponent's berserk strength. Our hero stiffened when he realized that this was a 3rd-level bear, as indicated by the red crystal on his forehead. The monster with red glowing eyes roared loudly and attacked the guy, who screamed, cursing, and started flying back. The boy jumped back to a safe distance to avoid being hit by the explosion. The bear growled again and prepared to attack. Yang Fan understood that the bear was much stronger, faster than him, and better at defense. But he also knew that there was no one in this world who didn't have a weak spot. He quickly realized exactly where this giant bear's weak spot was, and readied his blade to stab it in that exact spot. While shouting, the guy swung and hit the mechanical bear on its metal claw. The beast roared loudly in pain. Its entire body was electrocuted. The torso was surrounded by lightning. The guy managed to injure it, but it didn't kill the bear, and he realized that the paralytic effect of his 2nd-level mad knife was still too weak. However, Yang Fan thought that the power of his blade was still enough, so he jumped up to match the bear's head and swung the weapon again. The giant mutated bear roared loudly in pain again as our hero managed to successfully attack it. The second blow was enough to knock the monster down and take its life, so the test was successfully passed. The giant beast crashed to the ground. Yang Fan finally called it a stupid bear, and the audience recognized that this guy is interesting. The main character turned around abruptly when he heard the comment in his direction, and asked who it was that just spoke. The system reported that the test was successfully completed, and as a result, the guy raised his craftsman level to 2nd. This time, Yang Fan didn't lose anything in the battle, and also managed to earn a lot of money, so the result suited him. 2 hostile soldiers approached our hero. The guy said that he was already out of the car, seeing that they wanted to grab him. But one of the soldiers ordered the others to surround the main character and search him. All four of them stood around the guy. Yang Fan was indignant, asking how dare they. After all, he was the head of the third base on the orders of General Leopard. And really, they were tired of living. Smiling maliciously, the soldier replied that these are the rules. 3,000 crystals is a fee for using the merchant's services. The guy also has to give them all the purchased items. Haomei told the guy to let them search him. Otherwise, this information will reach the general, and then our hero's friends will suffer. The main character justified himself by saying that he did not buy anything from merchants because the assortment did not have the medicine he needed. The fierce soldier replied that he had heard this many times before, but everyone who said it to him was a liar. Yang Fan asked what if they didn't find anything. The soldier replied that no one would believe that after 5 minutes inside, the guy didn't buy anything. Smiling, our hero allowed the military to search him, but asked him to remember what they said earlier. Their leader began to give instructions to the others, and the soldiers were told to search the young man without missing a single spot and look in the pockets of his pants. After that, they reported to the leader that they didn't find anything in the jacket, and they only found 4 gray crystal cores in the pants. The head soldier was shocked. He shouted, asking how this was possible, because he was sure that Yang Fan didn't come out of there empty-handed. The second soldier shouted, asking what the guy was doing, when Yang Fan took the opportunity and snatched the machine gun out of his hands. A moment later, Yang Fan fired, mercilessly disposing of the soldier who had promised that he would give up his head if it turned out that the guy wasn't lying. Haomei gave our hero a startled look as he glared at her coldly and asked if she wanted to search him again. Sweating, the blue-haired girl averted her gaze and timidly replied that she didn't want to search him anymore. Yang Fan warned her that he would take her life too if she threatened him again, while Haomei blushed because of the guy's beauty and skills. The main character walked away. Haomei ran after him, shouting at him not to leave, because they all want to be his friends now. She grabbed his hand and smiled ingratiatingly, saying that it was time to create weapons, because the guy had already gone to the merchant. Yang Fan roughly pushed the girl away from him and told her to stay away from him because he wasn't interested in married ladies. Haomei was angry that the guy dared to hate her. She believed that one day he would become her personal slave who would kneel in front of her. Yan Yue talked to the doctor. They talked about health. The doctor said that she did not think that creatures with superpowers are so persistent. Qingsui was sitting on the sofa with Duanmu and Sinan. The girl was worried about where her older brother was because he had been gone for half a day. Duanmu reassured her, saying that he was safe, but the problem was that Leopard had locked them in here without food or water, so they wouldn't last the next day. The sister of our hero glared at Sinan, who justified himself that it was not his fault. He was also afraid that the food would run out, and he had not eaten anything for a long time. Suddenly, their conversation was interrupted by the main character, who entered the living room and said that there was no need to worry about it. Qingsui jumped up from the sofa and shouted she was very happy that her big brother was finally back. The guy activated his ring and took out the food that he had stored there from the supermarket from the space storage. Sinan and our hero's sister were thrilled when they saw a whole mountain of chips and other snacks, and Yang Fan said it was from Mr. Leopard. Duanmu admitted that she was exaggerating that they wouldn't last another day, and Sinan was crying with happiness because he finally had a full meal. Yang Fan told them not to rush, but to keep an eye on the door and not let anyone in until he left again to attend to his other matters. The guys started eating snacks. Even Qingsui, after getting her favorite snacks, didn't mind her big brother going out again. Qingsui decided to take the snacks to Yan Yue and the doctor because they must be hungry too, while Sinan started feeding his cat. Yang Fan went to his room. He knew that there were 9 craftsman levels, and the 7th, 8th, and 9th were considered advanced. In his previous life, there was only one person who became a master craftsman, and the fortress he built was impregnable to all creatures. The main character decided that in this life he also wants to become such a master who will be able to build a fortress to protect himself and his loved ones. He decided to improve his weapon with special properties because the craftsman has such an opportunity. He took out a red crystal, a rare, 2nd-level artifact that he found in today's pile of materials. He hoped that using the crystal would work, and then his blade would not only overcome the 2nd level, but might also gain additional properties. The use of the red crystal seemed to work, because Yang Fan stared in fascination at the blade that had turned red. But the guy, looking at the sword more closely, was puzzled, because the weapon did not have any special properties, which means something went wrong. The main character made a swing of the weapon. The blade left behind a powerful flame trail, which means it still received new properties. Yang Fan realized that he was holding a mutated flame weapon that would have cost hundreds or thousands of white crystals in a previous life. Meanwhile, Leopard told his subordinates that the quality of today's weapons wasn't bad, but they would soon run out of firearms, which was a problem. But Gaolian doubted that it was worth giving the main character an evolution tube to create such a weapon. After all, It costs 100 white crystals. The general suggested to the deputy the idea to wait until our hero makes 99 swords. And everything that he will do then, call inappropriate quality. 7 days had passed. Yang Fan still had one more batch to make to get exactly 100 weapons, and he planned to use the remaining materials for light equipment. It's time to buy high-quality goods at a low price. This opportunity is given to him by the ring. Last time he received a craftsman card. The main character again went to the place where the merchant is located. As usual, armed men were waiting for him at the entrance. This time, they treated Yang Fan with respect. They saluted the third-base deputy as he approached them. But one of them was forced to remind the young man that the old rule still applies, and he owes them 3,000 crystals for admission. Yang Fan gave the bag of crystals to the guard, who thought that the guy had a good reputation because now, without paying a penny extra, he would make a deal with the merchant and leave. The main character approached a mysterious merchant in a light robe and initiated a purchase. The space began to transform. He was surprised when he saw that the products from the assortment were not available to him, which means that someone had already bought them. But the guy decided to use the power of his ring. He told him not to let him down and hoped for a good discount. Yang Fan opened his eyes wide in surprise as a golden item card started to appear. He guessed what it was. In the previous life, this perfect sage card was one of the rarest, because a level 8 sage was able to revive the dead. He had bought it, and now he wanted to find Lin Miaochun and convince her to join his team, because this card would be perfect for her. The main character frowned when he remembered his foe Xiao Ao. He was determined to take revenge on him when he became stronger. On the way, the guy came across a girl with blue hair. It was Hao Mei, who said that she had already searched him. Qingsui screamed and rushed to the door when she thought her brother was back, and Lin Miaochun didn't understand why the guy was back so early today. She asked why they came and where her brother was. Gao Lian replied that she would see her brother soon, but for now, she belongs to him. Gao Lian ordered the burly guys to grab the girl and everyone else, and they immediately rushed forward to catch the terrified Qing Shui. One of them targeted Yan Yue, who had her back to the others, and told the trash that he was ready to take revenge on her for what she did to his brother Han Chang. Yan Yue pointed her gun at them and shouted at them not to move, or they would be left headless, and reminded them that Yang Fan was the third deputy of the base. Seeing that the girl had a gun in her hands, one of the villains also pulled out a weapon and shouted that they were also armed. Gao Lian told the beauty to stop embarrassing herself because she couldn't even pierce his skin with a gun, because the man is made of stone. Yan Yue didn't believe him and still fired, hitting the bullet in the shoulder. His subordinate was scared when the girl started firing the gun. The bullet created a hole in the man's arm that turned to stone. His eyes shone with a red light, and he noted the girl's courage. Veins of anger appeared on his face as he realized that Yang Fan had hidden a treasure in the form of a level 2 pistol. Yan Yue was startled when she saw that the shot didn't make the man stop. Gao Lian rushed forward to fight back. The man easily knocked the gun out of the girl's hand and shouted that she was a slow turtle, which is not capable of anything without a weapon. The deputy general grabbed the red-haired girl by the throat and told the others to catch whoever they could, and promised that those caught would be theirs. Lin Miaochun and Duanmu grabbed knives and covered our hero's little sister and Chubby with their backs. They shouted, demanding that the scoundrels do not come near them. Duanmu wore the glasses that the main character had given her. She hoped that they would help her find the weak points of these men. One of them had already grabbed the girl doctor's arm to disarm her and snatched the knife from her hand. Lin Miaochun shouted, urging Sinan and our hero's little sister to quickly run away from here to find Yang Fan. The man grabbed Qing Sui's hand and asked if she really thought that worthless trash Sinan was capable of anything. Qing Sui screamed, demanding that the scoundrel take his hands off her, and the blue-haired girl came running to help. Sinan and her cat were angry at the man who grabbed his girlfriend, and he clenched his teeth in anger, insulted by the words that he was a worthless trash. The chubby guy gave a command to his cat she's sure to bite the man. The animal immediately jumped on him, meowing menacingly. The angry cat scratched the scoundrel's face with its sharp claws, and the scoundrel screamed loudly in pain. Xisha continued to scratch the man, who tried to move her away from his face, and Gao Lian shouted for them to stop. Gao Lian grabbed the red-haired girl and the doctor, pinned them to the floor, holding their throats, and warned them that he would take their lives if they twitched again. Sinan and Duanmu quieted down when they saw their girlfriends in danger. They started to visibly panic as they looked at the bastard. Soon, the deputy general's subordinates captured both of them and immobilized them, so that the entire team was neutralized. One of the base guards shouted that he would deal with the beast that attacked him, and Sinan was pinned to the floor by his head. The man realized that this cat has mutated, so you should not run into it, but wait until he finds a gun and gets rid of it. Golan ordered his subordinates to lead the captured guys after him, and while holding a gun, he said that he was sure that the chief would be happy to see this weapon. Meanwhile, the main character and Haomei were still in the corridor somewhere in the base. The guy asked why she was looking for him. The girl replied that Gao Lian had just gone to arrest his friends. and our hero's mouth dropped open in shock. The guy was extremely outraged to learn that the deputy general wanted to arrest his friends. The news was unexpected for him. He snorted with displeasure when the girl confirmed that Gao Lian was going to grab not only his girlfriends, but also him personally. Yang Fan was about to leave to deal with it, but Haomei grabbed his arm, stopping him and warning him that going alone would be too dangerous. She offered him a deal. In exchange for saving the guy's friends, he would give her a potion to level up her strength. The main character in response only got even more angry, pushed the lady with his elbow and demanded that she move away from him. This angered Haomei, but she didn't argue with him anymore. She thought that the guy would regret his decision yet. Yang Fan hid around the corner and saw a whole crowd running and shouting, planning to catch our hero in the workshop, believing that he was still there. Our hero concluded that Haomei had told him the truth. Now he was afraid that his friends and the others had already been captured. He was sure that his friends were locked up in that direction, and in his previous life, he had learned this place well, because then he was locked up in a dungeon, forced to do menial work. The guy grinned. Now he didn't want to pretend. He wanted to take revenge on the general and the others for making him suffer in his previous life. The following actions took place on the territory of the prison, which was located in the basement. The prison was well guarded by armed men. The main character knew where this place was, so he soon entered it. He cautiously peeked around the corner, seeing a not quite vigilant guard. He used his ring, saying that it was time for light armor. He took out the armor from the storage. After that, he put on this armor that became the golden shield on his t-shirt and shouted while chanting the merge spell. A bright golden aura surrounded the main character's entire body, and a small golden shield in the form of a coat of arms appeared on his stomach. Meanwhile, the base's security officers were shouting, telling the bound girls and Sinan to move, and they pushed them into the prison cell. Everyone was sitting on the cold floor with their hands tied. Yan Yue spoke first, saying that they couldn't just sit there and wait for their lives to be taken. Duanmu agreed, saying that thanks to her glasses she noticed that the rope that tied her friend's hands was leaking in some places. The girl suggested that her friend use the fragment that she had hidden in her hands to free herself. She smiled as Qing Shui started enthusiastically praising the blue-haired girl for how smart she was. Sinan also had a plan, asking his cat Shishir to cut through the rope that bound his hands. Duanmu crawled up with her back to her friend to hand her a sharp piece of glass so that she could cut her rope. The blue-haired girl started trying to carefully cut the rope herself in its weak spots, using a piece of glass. A security officer at the base was standing outside, carefully observing what was happening in the cell, and he noticed a glint of sunlight. The man decided to check what was going on. He opened the cell door and saw that the arrested girls were still sitting on the floor. But he suspected that the girls were going to run away, so he decided to yell at them and kick Duanmu and her best friend for trying to escape. Yan Yue fought back against the bastard, kicking him and shouting, asking how dare he raise his hand against a woman. Shishir at this time had already successfully chewed through the rope binding her master's hands. The guy praised the pet for its excellent work. Angry Sinan attacked the man from behind and shouted that it was impossible to offend girls. The latter screamed in pain and collapsed on the floor. The second bodyguard entered the cell and put a gun to Sinan's head. He shouted that he would shoot if the guy dared to move. The man Sinan had attacked stood up and retaliated by slapping him across the face with his hand for daring to attack him. He didn't stop with one punch, but continued punching Sinan in the face, shouting that he wouldn't finish until he saw his lifeless body. Sinan's face was already disfigured, and the man was visibly startled when he saw the angry cat of the beaten guy come up to them and meow threateningly. He immediately snatched the gun from his partner's hand and pointed it at the animal, shouting that he would take the life of the Sinan cat. Sinan wouldn't let that happen, so he immediately grabbed the pet cat, covered it with his back, and was shot in the shoulder. The man grinned and said that it was Sinan's turn to die first, and the terrified Duanmu told him to stop. Suddenly, someone intervened in this showdown. The security officer of the base did not yet know that right now something heavy was flying at him through the entire cell. A moment later, a shoe flew straight at his face, and he turned around and shouted, asking who dared to do this. It turned out that it was the main character. He confessed that he did it. The guy was standing with a flaming blade at the ready. His eyes shone with a red light, and his body was surrounded by a fiery aura. He said that he didn't expect the man to come here by himself, so he should prepare for death. The security officer shouted that it was still unknown which of them would lose their lives, and ordered the others to open fire on our hero. The girls were very scared for Yang Fan, and they started yelling at him to run away from here and not worry about them. But the pistol bullets didn't make Yang Fan run away. He bravely stood in front of the men who shot at him. The guy held his new sword ready, surrounded by fierce flames, and was ready to fight back against the bastards from third base. He grinned as he asked how he could hide, and at the same time, with a single swing of his sword, he cut those pistol bullets into two pieces. The guards of the basement prison were shocked to see that the bullets did not hit our hero, but they continued to shoot. As many as 4 shocked guards opened fire on the guy, but all the bullets were neutralized by Yang Fan's flaming sword. A dumbfounded Sinan filmed all this on his phone, and the base employees admitted that this was not a person in front of them because bullets do not take him. The guy swung his sword again and wished the men who opened fire on him death, after which he took their lives with one blow. Duanmu admitted that our hero is strong. Lin Miaochun was also shocked to see the real strength of the young man. The man took the younger sister of our hero hostage, demanding that he let him leave, otherwise the girl will be dead. Yang Fan tensed up because his beloved little sister was in real danger, and he was quiet for a while as he considered his next plan. Lin Miaochun decided to stand up for the girl. She crept up from behind and hit the man on the leg, shouting that the scoundrel did not touch her. The terrified Qing Sui immediately ran towards her older brother after freeing herself, and the scoundrel fell to the ground, stumbling. The base employee pointed a gun at the girl, already preparing to shoot at the last moment before she ran to safety. But he couldn't pull the trigger, because a moment later he lost his arm, and all he could see was a flash of fire. It turned out that he was stopped by the main character using his flaming sword. He swung again, telling the man that he had no chance. The guy did not spare the scoundrel, and with one blow took his life for what he dared to do to his sister and friends. Yang Fan informed his friends and sister that they were now breaking off their cooperation with the base general and needed to prepare to leave this place. The protagonist looked back warily when he heard another voice asking if they were going to escape. It turned out that General Leopard, his deputies, and the surviving subordinates went down to the basement to stop our heroes. Leopard shamed the guy for taking the life of his man, despite the fact that the boss treated him so well. Sinan protected the guys with his shield. Duanmu used her glasses to find the enemy's weak points, and Yan Yue pointed a gun at the enemies. Leopard said that he appreciated the guy's bravery, so he would give him another chance, but only if he handed over one of his team members to him. Yang Fan replied that it was a good suggestion, because it was like trying to break through a wall with your head. Getting into a fight with such a strong base, having a bunch of girls and a chubby guy, Yan Yue volunteered to surrender to the base because she owes her life to the main character. Sinan realized that he was completely worthless, especially since he had previously lied to the guys to bring them to this base. Lin Miaochun demanded that she go, because she was the last person to join the team, and she was already working at this base from the very beginning. After preparing his flaming sword, Yang Fan stunned everyone by saying that there was no need to argue, because he only said that it was a sensible suggestion. Duanmu shouted that she found the weak point of this wall. The transverse axis is 3 and 3 meters. The vertical axis is 5 and 3 meters. The main character trusted her, swung his magic sword to break through the stone wall in the weakest place where there are cracks. The guy made a sword strike. The stones flew in different directions, and he declared that he would never give up his friends. Our brave hero once again swung his weapon. Everyone was blinded by a bright flash of fire, and the wall was finally destroyed. The first thing he did was yell at his little sister to run, and the girl started climbing on the concrete rubble to get out. Duanmu and the doctor girl happily ran towards freedom, but they were more happy that it turned out that Yang Fan would never abandon them. General Leopard ordered his subordinates to open fire on the guys because they can't let Yang Fan get away. Sinan shouted to his friends to get out of here quickly, while he covered them from the bullets with the shield that our hero gave him. Gao Lian decided to get rid of Chubby. He jumped high up using magic abilities. He wanted to see if Sinan could stand up against his punch. The fat man was visibly startled when he looked up and saw that a burly man with superpowers was targeting him. Fortunately, the main character came to the rescue. He covered his friend with his back and did not allow the deputy general to harm Sinan. Gao Lian, seeing our hero, shouted that he was just in time and used the Petrification, Earthen Pyramid spell against him. Yang Fan's speed was enough for him to quickly jump out of the way, and the exploding multiple rocks didn't hit him. Frowning, the boy slid his flaming sword behind his back to counterattack the big man with superpowers. Gao Lian was dumbfounded when he saw that his move didn't work, and the guy was already rushing towards him, safe and sound. The man jumped back at the last moment, and our hero swung his sword, only slightly grazing the neck of his opponent. The big man with the earth element skill screamed in pain when he received the wound on his neck, because it was unexpected. He covered the wound with his hand. Gao Lian was shocked. He asked how the guy managed to injure him, because his superpower is level 1 Earth. The main character, without answering the questions of the opponent, jumped up. In the air, he swung his sword to attack the man again. The guy dealt a fatal blow, telling the man that he would never have a chance to find out how he managed to injure a person with superpowers. A gun that belonged to Yan Yue fell out of Gao Lian. Our hero concluded that the man was not going to give the weapon to his boss. The younger sister peeked out through the hole leading to the street and yelled at the older brother to get out of there. Yan Yue came to the rescue, reached out her hand and told the guy to grab it to make it easier for him to get out. Leopard shouted at his subordinates to stop the guys from escaping. He wanted Yang Fan to pay with his blood for what he did to his deputy. Sinan once again began to defend himself and the main character with a shield. When they were shot at with machine guns, the guy shouted at Yang Fan to get out of there. But Yang Fan took the shield from his friend and told him to get out of here first, which surprised Pudgy noticeably. While climbing up, Sinan thanked the guy for it, saying that the shield was too heavy for him. A heavier weapon was used, and one of the base employees used a grenade launcher to hit our hero. Yan Yue, who noticed this first, shouted at Yang Fan to be careful, and then an explosion thundered right above his head. The main character looked up in time and noticed that a burning projectile was flying directly at him, so he ran forward. He began to climb the concrete rubble, his sword in hand, trying to get out as quickly as possible. The guy used his magical powers to literally fly up and hit the street, his body leaving behind traces of light. At the very last moment, Yang Fan landed on the street. If he was even a second late, the explosion would have hit him. Qingsui praised her brother, saying how cool he was, and suggested that they quickly get out of here before they caught them. The main character returned the red-haired girl the gun that the big guy stole from her. She was shocked and thanked him. Yan Yue turned pink with embarrassment, flattered that our hero did not forget to give her the weapon even at such a tense moment. The girl and Yang Fan covered themselves with their hands as the flames of the explosion burst out a second later, almost reaching them. A mutant man with animal hair, ears, and paws jumped out into the street, saying how angry he was and that none of them would get out of here alive. Yan Yue immediately pointed a gun at the mutant, not understanding who it was, and asked the guys not to worry, promising that she would cover for them. The red-haired girl immediately opened fire on General Leopard, and the man ducked back, dodging a burst of bullets. Jumping up to counterattack the girl, the mutant screamed that he was a second-level supernatural being. The main character covered his girlfriend with his back and prepared a sword charged with fiery energy to repel the monster. He tried to hit the monster with his sword, but the monster defended itself with a swing of his hand. The sharp blade of the guy's weapon was no match for him. Yang Fan shouted to his team to run away because in front of them was a brutal supernatural creature that was no match for them. The situation was made even worse by the fact that a whole crowd of zombies ran here while Yang Fan was fighting Leopard. The mutant, whose eyes were burning with a bright green light, got angry at the zombies, shouting that they were bastards who should get out of his way. Leopard caused a powerful blast wave with his abilities, which threw a crowd of zombies in different directions. The main character activated the shield to protect himself and his buddies. He shouted for them all to hide behind him. Yang Fan admitted that this second-level supernatural beast was very strong, and it easily took down a whole bunch of zombies. Duanmu ran to the car that was parked nearby. She shouted to the others to follow her. The others ran after the girl to hide in the car. Only our hero remained. He wanted to detain the monster. The mutant, holding a green sphere flashing with lightning in his hand, declared that he would cripple the guy so that he would never escape again, and spent the rest of his life sitting on the base, creating weapons for him. The leopard placed its hands on the ground, charged with bright green electric energy, and prepared to attack. Enraged even more, the monster warned the boy that if he didn't comply, he would order his subordinates to kill his girlfriend in front of him. The main character did not even notice how the leopard jumped up and was behind him, leaving behind bright green tracks. When the guy turned around, he saw that the mutant was already flying straight at him, shouting that he would make Yang Fan beg him to let him live. Yang Fan readied his fire sword in time and replied that, in that case, they would see which of them would lose their lives first. Leopard, still in flight, screamed, asking if a useless first-level scum like our hero really thought he could do anything to harm him. The main character swung his flame sword in advance, blocking the leopard's attack and injuring its hands. The level 2 monster screamed, complaining that our hero's damn sword had cut its beast claws. Yang Fan grinned and admitted that it wasn't a damn sword, but an incredible weapon that he had created using the base's materials. Leopard didn't believe him because he thought that these materials were just useless souvenirs, and the guy previously claimed that he could only create first-level weapons. The main character asked if the general of the base just believed what the guy said earlier. It was hard for the monster to believe that the guy had managed to create a second or third-level sword for himself. He was already waiting for help. Turning around, Yang Fan noticed a car approaching with his team in it, and he ran to jump into the car faster. Having successfully jumped into the car, the guy looked out the window, gave Leopard the middle finger, and admitted that he had cheated him. Leopard realized that the main character had deceived him. In fact, the boy was weaker than him, and he was just stalling for time, showing the red flame of his sword. The monster wasn't going to let go of the guy so easily. It started rushing after the car on all fours, shouting that Yang Fan wouldn't run away from it. Yan Yue opened fire on the mutant with her pistol, but so far, all 3 bullets fired missed their target. She shouted that mutants with the body of a beast are very strong because she couldn't hit it, because the leopard could predict the trajectory of bullets. The distance between the white car and the leopard was only getting shorter, and the girl panicked and screamed, asking what they should do. Yang Fan told them to go to the very center of the city, where all the zombies are concentrated. Sinan asked if they would drive themselves into a trap. Sinan was sweating with exertion and shouted a warning that the monster was very close when he looked out the window and saw that the leopard was already level with the car. Duanmu immediately realized that Yang Fan was suggesting that the zombies block the monster's path. Our hero praised her for this guess. The car drove up to the center of the city. The guys were immediately amazed when they saw how many zombies there are. The main character told the girl who was driving to go straight ahead, because zombies of the first level will not be able to harm their car. Leopard was forced to face a mob of zombies too. He used superpowers to fight them off. Qingsui was overjoyed when she saw through the window that the zombies were attacking the general. She told Big Brother that he was right. General Leopard became enraged and hit the zombies with a wave of green energy, which brutally dealt with several monsters. The strength of the supernatural monster in the beast's body was so astounding that its destructive energy spread over entire blocks. After easily disposing of a huge number of zombies, Leopard leapt forward to catch up with his main target. Duanmu didn't understand how this was possible when she saw the leopard-turned-base general catching up to them again. Qingsui told the girl who was driving to keep her foot on the floor, otherwise the monster would catch up with them. The blue-haired girl quieted down in fear when she noticed something directly ahead and reported it to her team. At the end of the ruined road was an even more gigantic monster, a bald humanoid creature with gray skin. When the main character saw this monster, he immediately realized that it was a third-level zombie, because he had never seen such a thing in his previous life. He was not surprised, explaining to the guys that this is the center of the city. There is a high concentration of people, so the Zombie King often appears here. The guy got out of the car having prepared a weapon. He told the curious Sinan that this creature with superpowers is unkillable and much stronger than the general. Meanwhile, the third-level zombie had already noticed the target, and it leaped high above the ground to catch up with its prey. On the other hand, our heroes were being hunted by a leopard, which was flying at the guy, asking where Yang Fan would run off to now. Yang Fan knew that there were zombies ahead and a leopard behind and they couldn't escape, so he told his team to leave, and he would stay here. Qingsui was absolutely against it. She was indignant and shouted to her brother that they wouldn't leave without him. The main character looked up and noticed that the third-level zombie decided to attack not the guys, but General Leopard. The zombie grabbed the leopard by the shoulders, and in response it bared its sharp fangs and screamed, asking the creature what it was doing. Yang Fan decided to take the opportunity to escape, immediately got back in the car and shouted, telling the driver to get out of here faster. A battle broke out between the third-level zombie and the base general, and Leopard used his superpowers to try to hit a stronger opponent. And the white car in which our hero and his team were sitting rushed forward, breaking through the crowd of ordinary zombies. Duanmu was discouraged. She asked why the base general and that level 3 zombie didn't attack them. Yang Fan admitted that he didn't know that level 3 zombies chose their own food, and they still have to thank the general for being stronger than them. The main character explained that top-level mutants are also looking for crystals to become stronger, so the monsters fight among themselves. Dr. Lin Miao-chun suggested closing the subject and asked the guy where they were going now. The guy offered to go to Haitian, where the military camp is located, because this is the safest city. His sister did not mind, because their parents live there. Noticing that Yan Yue was somewhat sad, our hero asked the girl what was wrong. She immediately smiled and replied that everything was fine. Duanmu revealed her friend's secret that she wanted to go to Jigawa because her parents live there, and Yan Yue felt awkward. The main character seemed to remember something very important when the girl behind the wheel mentioned the city of Jigawa. When the world ended, Jigawa became one of the most chaotic cities in the world, where it is almost impossible for an ordinary person to survive. But the most important thing for the guy was that Jigawa was the city where his nemesis, a bastard named Xiao Ao, lived. Yang Fan suggested going to Jigawa because his parents are in Haitian, where it is relatively safe, and the trip to them can be postponed. Yan Yue was happy and thanked the guy, and the younger sister of our hero puffed out her cheeks with resentment. She snorted when her older brother patted her on the head and told her not to get mad, saying that he had already called her parents and they said they were safe. Yan Yue blushed again. She wondered if Yang Fan was really interested in her. After all, he had previously given her a good weapon, and now he changed the route for her. But the red-haired girl remembered that our hero had previously asked Lin Miao-chun to become his wife, and he had never said something like that to her. All three of them looked at him in surprise as he reached into the inside pocket of his jacket, saying that he had almost forgotten something. Yang Fan took out the map, saying that he got it from the base, which is perfect for Lin Miao-chun, because the team needs a medic with superpowers. Yan Yue opened her mouth in surprise when she saw the main character giving Lin Miao-chun a card that would grant her superpowers. The guy put the card to his forehead. It immediately activated. He told the girl that soon she will see that this card will open up a whole world for her. The card worked. Lin Miao-chun's eyes turned golden. She immediately changed and declared that she was now a sage. Sinan was afraid for the girl who started behaving so strangely. He asked if she had lost her mind. Yang Fan explained that it was the profession card that had affected her so much, and since then, she was a sage, and he wanted to test what she was capable of right away. The main character used a sharp object to injure his palm and test the girl's medical abilities. The girl immediately extended her hand to heal our hero's wound with her healing energy, and it began to heal. Everyone was delighted when they saw that Lin Miaochun's healing energy didn't leave a trace of the wound on the guy's palm. Lin Miaochun smiled. She was proud of herself, and the main character told the guys that such things are now capable of a girl. Qing Sui happily exclaimed that it was great, because now they didn't have to worry about getting injured. Sage complained that she was feeling very tired. Yang Fan explained that the ability was taking away her mental energy, and so far her body couldn't handle it. The guy asked his sister to try not to get hurt if she didn't want her friend to feel exhausted. Lin Miaochun sighed heavily, because with her ability, there were many restrictions, and it was just as possible to use medicines. Our hero replied that a sage of the highest level can even raise the dead, which no medicine can do. The girl was happy, saying that it was wonderful. She hoped that she would have enough strength, because she sincerely wanted to continue helping Yang Fan. Yan Guanao also wanted to collect some crystals and go to the merchant, because she wanted to get a map to upgrade her abilities. Our hero knew that the general would not be at the base for at least another hour and a half, and all the others posed little threat to him. So he asked Duanmu to stop and drop him off. The girl asked if he was sane and if he was going to go back to the damn base. The little sister grabbed her brother's hand and shouted that she wouldn't let him go anywhere, and he calmed her down, saying that everything would be fine. He just needed to pick up some things. Yan Yue volunteered to go with him. Duanmu was against it, because protecting them, the guy will lose more strength. It's better for them to go to investigate. The red-haired girl was upset. She admitted that her friend was right, and that she was too weak not to be a burden to the guy. Yang Fan got out of the car and grabbed his flaming sword, walking towards the base to collect what he owned there. The main character came to a tall concrete building surrounded by ruin and clouds of smoke. There were a couple of zombies nearby. He noticed one of the zombies who was growling loudly and running straight at our hero. But the guy was not afraid. Yang Fan got rid of the annoying screaming green-skinned monster with a single blow using his sword. He walked over to the ruined wall and decided that this way he could easily reach the vault. When he jumped down, two guards immediately spotted him and shouted, asking the bastard how he dared to come back here. The armed security forces immediately opened fire with machine guns on the guy, but he still intended to go down to the storage room. The guy claimed that the two of them were also unlucky, and used his magic sword to take the lives of both of them in one blow. The main character wiped his sword after smearing it on these men, left them lying on the floor behind and left. He encountered a strong steel door, but said that this door is not a barrier to his weapons. Yang Fan swung the flaming sword again, leaving behind a bright streak of purple light to hit the door. He knocked down the door with a single blow, and ended up in the vault where all the valuables belonging to this base are kept. The guy stated that General Leopard's storage would be exclusively his from now on, and stood in front of a pile of materials. The main character swung his sword twice, forming a bright cross in the air to open many gold safes at the same time. The safes were opened, and he saw that there were still 2 first-level potions that were needed to develop his strength. Taking all the valuable items, the guy thought that the leopard managed to collect so much treasure that the mercenaries could do without the general. He was afraid that the general had gotten so much because he had encountered the merchants by mistake, and he had learned a lot. While sucking up everything of value in the storage ring, the guy said that it was time to prepare a grand fireworks display for Mr. Leopard. The main character used his craftsman card to create the desired item from what he collected. After getting the right bomb, he admitted that becoming a second-level craftsman was really worth it. Suddenly, he was interrupted by someone. Our hero turned around and saw an injured man who shouted, asking if Yang Fan is really here again. It was a wounded leopard who screamed, asking if the guy had completely lost his fear and what he was doing with his things. Yang Fan smiled and replied that the man had returned pretty quickly, which meant that second-level mutants were really capable guys. Turning back into a mutant leopard, the man jumped up and shouted, demanding that the young man put the stolen item back in its place. The guy took out his sword, replied that he would not even think about doing it, because the general was wounded, his days were numbered, and now our hero would take his life. Trying to hit the main character with his paw, Leopard shouted that he was fine, even though he was injured, and he had enough strength to get rid of the guy. The mutant began to shout, threatening what he would do to our hero's friends, who in response ordered the general to shut his mouth and not dare to say such a thing about his friends. The main character defended himself with his sword from the attacks of the leopard, and this time the monster's claws suffered. The general decided that he had to get out of here, because his fingernails were blunted and his damned wounds were making it difficult for him to fight. He shouted that he would have to leave the guy this time, but he would definitely take revenge on him next time, and ran away. Yang Fan replied that it was too late if he decided to run away, and ran after him, while the man shouted, demanding that the guy not come over. The main character caught up with the mutant and this time inflicted an even more serious wound on him. Swinging his second-level sword, the guy's next strike was fatal for the base general. The mutant leopard screamed in pain as his heart was wounded. Turning back into a human, he collapsed on the floor and Yang Fan only commented that it was great because he managed to save his bomb. The guy noticed a test tube of purple potion that fell out of the pocket of the defeated general. He was very happy because this is a second-level power development potion. He did not expect that the general would carry such a treasure with him. The main character immediately uncorked the test tube and poured its contents into himself to pump up his strength. Yang Fan immediately felt a new power rushing into his body. He knew that the second level would allow him to compete with famous masters. Happy with the outcome, the guy jumped up to be outside again. He wanted to catch up with his girls as soon as possible. But immediately, the guy ran into a screaming bald zombie, who was taken aback when he saw Yang Fan with a flaming sword in his hand. The main character mercilessly dealt with the monster, using his signature weapon. When he got rid of the monster, the guy looked to the side. His attention was drawn to a motorcycle standing nearby. Yang Fan said that a motorcycle is perfect in his situation, and he had an idea of how to use it. He got on a motorcycle and began to ride it through the streets of the city. On this transport, he was going to catch up with his team. The guy understood that during the end of the world, the old laws do not work, and now all people are victims who can become cruel monsters overnight. Yang Fan was surprised to see that his ring had activated, which meant that there was a merchant somewhere nearby. The young man stopped and noticed the tracks from the car wheels. He assumed that someone had been here before. He decided to find a merchant anyway, no matter if there was someone else there or not, because this is his chance to acquire something useful. When the guy got closer, he was surprised to see the white car that belongs to his girls in Sinan. There was no one in the car. Yang Fan didn't understand why the team decided to change the route and started to worry that something had happened to them. The main character understood that the motorcycle was honking too loudly, so he decided to go on foot in the footsteps of his guys. The guy reached a small village surrounded by mountains. A square appeared in front of him, where people crowded together. As he took a closer look, Yang Fan realized who exactly was tied to the wooden pole in the middle of the square. Sinan was tied to the pole. Our hero did not understand why the guy was there, and who all these people were around, and where the rest of the team members were then. Assuming that these people were cannibals, he decided that he would have to get rid of them all and not waste time trying to save his friend. Sinan and the others only managed to gape in surprise when they saw Yang Fan floating in the sky with a flaming sword in his hands. The guy shouted, trying to reach out to our hero, that all these people around are good and you should not take their lives. One of the villagers tried to calm the guy down, introduced himself as Da Nu Li, and admitted that they had no choice. The new village head ordered them to bind Sinan. While freeing his friend, Yang Fan asked the villagers where his sister was, where the others were, and what magic tree they were talking about. Sinan rushed forward and told the boy to run after him. Because now we need to save the girls as soon as possible, because the village chief took them hostage. The bewildered main character ran after his friend, trying to find out what had happened here at all. Pudgy, sweating from his run and horror, was ready to tell the team leader what had happened while he was gone. The day before, a white car driven by Duanmu continued to drive down the city street while our hero was at the base. Everyone was scared when a car suddenly hit a girl who ran out on the road and was not seen because of the fog. Duanmu was horrified. She said that the girl jumped out on the road very suddenly, and Sinan was also afraid that they had hurt someone. Sinan got out of the car and saw the girl sitting on the ground. He asked if she was okay and if she was hit hard. The girl hugged the guy's leg and shouted that everything was fine with her, but her father was dying, so he urgently needed help. Yan Yue told her to leave, because they didn't have time for this. But the girl continued to beg them to save her father. King Sui felt sorry for the girl. She offered to help her, and Lin Miaochun said that she thought her strength now would be enough to cure the stranger's father. Duanmu also wanted to help the girl. After all, it was she who hit her with a car, under their onslaught. Yan Yue was forced to agree, but not for long. The purple-haired stranger gave the boys a sly look and thought that another batch of dumbasses was on her hook. The whole group went to the village where this stranger and her sick father live, and a large, beautiful tree with pink leaves appeared before them. The girl accompanied the children to the house, telling them that her family lives on that mountain, and thanked the company for their kindness. The villager noticed Daniel Li and thought that she was becoming more useful since she had brought strangers, and hoped that he would even be able to eat soup tonight. Daniel Li led the children to her clay house and told them that her father was inside, and they could already hear him coughing violently outside. Yan Wei was uneasy. She carefully looked around. Being in the village was very uncomfortable for her, even though there were no zombies here. The children entered the house. The daughter told her father that she'd already returned. He coughed and said that he could not get up because of his illness. Sage Lin Miaochun approached the man, told him not to worry, and promised that she would cure him using healing energy. Seeing the glow, the man decided that these were not ordinary people. The healing energy began to act on him. The man noticed that his cough was gone, and he really felt better. He was amazed to see a true doctor in front of him. The man's daughter thanked them for their help. Ching Sui patted her on the head and promised that they could take a walk with her some other time. Lin Miaochun realized that using her superpower was very exhausting for her, and she dreamed of becoming strong like Yan Yue. The girl suggested to leave because she was very tired. The man asked them to wait, but Ching Sui insisted that they should go because he felt better. But suddenly a whole crowd of village boys burst into the house, kicking down the door, some of them armed. A guy in a white t-shirt claimed to have heard that there were some visitors in their village. The guys realized that they were trapped, and the man shouted to the headman to let them go and lure someone else, because these girls are good people. The village chief was adamant. He told his subordinates to grab all these girls so that he could have fun with them at night. The man who was treated by Lin Miaochun got up and ran towards the headman, trying to stop him. One of the headman's subordinates stopped the man by knocking him down with a punch to the face. Sinan shouted, asking what they were doing. Yan Yue pointed her gun at one of the scoundrels, shouting that she would deal with him cruelly if he only moved. The villains in the village were taken aback and froze when the girl screamed at them to freeze in place and not move if they didn't want to be shot. But the girls did not suspect that at this moment one of the guys would sneak up on our hero's younger sister from behind, holding a knife in his hand. He grabbed Ching Sui, covering her mouth with his hand, and threatened to take the girl's life if Yan Yue dared to shoot. The man demanded that Yan Yue throw the gun to him, and the fat man gave him his shield if they didn't want Ching Sui to be killed in front of them. The village boys threw their fists at Sinan and Yan Yue for playing tricks on them, and saying that they were not worthy to possess such weapons. The village chief praised Liu Jing for his good work, promised his subordinate soup, and ordered the fat man to be tied to a post and fried. The big man fell into the headman's lap and screamed, begging him not to do this because these guys saved his life. And among them, there is a doctor. But the village chief just kicked the man out of the way and told him to get out of here, asking why the hell he wanted to tell him anything. The village chief ordered Liu Jing to tie up the negligent man's daughter as well, and lead her to the sacred tree. He looked at the man ominously and warned that the sacred tree would kill his daughter if he didn't turn that fat man into food before the head returned. Sinan told our hero all this story, and they continued to run to the house where they were holding their friends hostage. The guy confessed to Yang Fan that he didn't know where the new village chief's house was, which discouraged our hero. One of the villagers came running to help them, shouting that he knew where the headman's house was and that he would show them the way. The man tried to convince Yang Fan that he would not return evil for good, because that girl was cured, and the life of his daughter is now in the hands of the guy. He ran forward, urging the boys to run after him, because they might be late, because the headman could control the sacred tree. The man explained that the sacred ancient tree had protected their village from generation to generation, and if you pray to it, you can get rid of the disease. He said that not so long ago, something happened to the sacred tree. It suddenly rebelled against the villagers. Sacred Tree even wanted to lash out at the new village chief, unleashing a torrent of her energy against him. But, according to the man, the ancient tree suddenly stopped and did not take the life of a new chapter, which was an exception. From that moment on, all the other villagers began to respect the new headman. They firmly believed that only he can save their settlement from misfortune. Yang Fan began to understand what was going on. He thought that the tree was mutated due to dark seeds, and the new village head might have superpowers to control it. Soon they reached the hut where the new village head lives, and the man pointed to the right building. Sinan and a villager tried to stop our hero, because there may be a lot of security when he kicked down the door. Tuanmu, our hero's younger sister and the team's sage, Lin Miaochun, were inside. The girls were tied up and helpless. The new village chief looked at the door in fright when he noticed that someone had unceremoniously broken into his hut. Ching Sui and Lin Miaochun were overjoyed to see that the main character had finally come to save them. The bewildered and angry head of the village shouted, asking who it was, and began to call the guards to grab the guy. Yang Fan looked at the headman with crazy eyes and told him not to try, because all his guards were already dead. After that, the boy kicked the headman in the face, shouting that he should not dare to touch his people. Our hero freed the girls by cutting the ropes, and advised them to change their clothes because there are still people outside. Yan Yue, who was released first, blushed because just now the guy called them all his people, which means she belongs to him. The village chief gaped in horror and broke out in a sweat as our hero leaned the sharp blade of a sword against his throat. The guy collapsed to his knees and gave up, holding up his hands. He suggested that Yang Fan just talk and begged him to let him live. Yang Fan asked the village chief why he was deceiving the villagers, because such a coward can't be a person with superpowers. The village chief, taking advantage of the moment, pulled out a pistol, pointed it at our hero and shouted that he would do what he wanted. This didn't frighten Yang Fan. He took out the scoundrel with a single blow, swinging his flaming sword, and the scoundrel screamed in hellish pain. A villager tried to stop Yang Fan, But our hero assured that the headman is not able to control the tree, so there is nothing to be afraid of. The main character realized that the man was not afraid of the sacred tree, but of the fact that his daughter might be deprived of life because of the guy. The man's daughter was held hostage and cried, complaining to her father that she was scared. The scoundrel demanded that the headman be released, otherwise the girl would be dead. The village chief noticed Lu Jing's appearance and praised his subordinate, saying that he didn't even doubt him. A resident of the settlement was forced to fall on his knees in front of our hero and start begging him, because he was afraid for his daughter's life. But Yang Fan had no intention of sparing the village chief. He swung his sword and shouted, wishing the scoundrel dead. Liu Jing swung the knife and shouted, warning that he would take the girl's life if our hero moved again. But the main character decided to ignore the man's threats and still angrily swung his sword once more to take the headman's life. When Liu Jing saw this, he decided to keep his promise and take revenge on the girl he was holding hostage. The girl's father was terrified, and he screamed, fearing for her, and rushed forward to come to her aid. The man started shouting, begging the doctor to save his daughter. Lin Miaochun asked him not to worry, because she had not yet met people that she could not save. Our hero asked the man to trust the doctor and not worry about anything, but to go himself to gather all the inhabitants in front of the sacred tree. The villager thanked the guy and ran away to complete the task, and the girl began to heal the injured girl. The main character turned to the village chief lying on the ground and told him not to pretend to be dead, because he did not touch vital organs. The boy told the headman to be their guide, because he had heard that this guy could control the sacred tree. Sinan kicked the village chief, shouting that he didn't care what he said and should do as he was told. The children went to a large tree with pink leaves, which was surrounded by streams of magical energy. Not far from the sacred tree, our heroes also met a merchant, a mysterious man in a white robe. Yang Fan thought that he didn't expect to meet a second-level merchant here, even though he could sense his presence when he approached the village. Duanmu said that this tree looks about 3,000 years old, and according to legends, such trees can have a spirit, although there is no scientific evidence for this. Kingsui saw someone standing under the tree and asked the others why this mysterious person wasn't afraid of the tree's wrath. One of the villagers started shouting to our hero that it was the guy under the tree who ordered him to do evil. Yanwei explained to the girl that this is not a person, but a merchant who is not able to think, so he cannot force someone to do evil. The man returned and reported to the protagonist that all the villagers had arrived at the place. He brought a whole crowd with him. The villagers immediately got scared and screamed, wanting to escape from here because they saw that the sacred tree was raging again. They ran out of sight, away from the tree, and shouted that the new village head was running the sacred tree, which meant they could all die. The headman decided to intimidate Yang Fan and shouted that now the guy knew how strong he was, and he could order the tree to deal with him if he didn't let him go. Yang Fan just grinned and pushed the headman in the back, telling him to go and demonstrate while he saw what he could do. The villagers panicked, and they shouted that our hero was completely crazy because he had let the headman go free, and it was bad. The new village chief was forced to approach the sacred tree, which was immediately attacked by a stream of bright purple light. It turned out that the head of the settlement could not control the tree because it dealt with the man in an instant. The villagers gaped in shock when they saw that the sacred tree had taken the life of a new headman, even though he could control it. The main character stated that this bastard can't control the sacred tree, and only he can stop the tree's wrath. One of the villagers stared at him in shock and asked if he really could tame the anger of the 1,000-year-old tree. The man tried to stop Yang Fan, warning him that the tree would not let him live, but our hero was determined to check it out. He took out the jar and hoped that the dark seeds hadn't reached the root of the tree yet. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to clear it of them. Yanyue started to rush to help our hero, but her friend grabbed her hand and stopped her, saying that the guy knows exactly what he's doing. Duanmu said that it was better for them to stay here and watch from the sidelines. The red-haired girl acknowledged her friend's point. When the sacred tree released 2 streams of magic power, our hero jumped up in time to dodge. The guy, armed with a sword charged with flames, was determined to destroy these tongues of purple light. The main character swung his blade and hit the flow of power of the sacred tree with it. A bright flash was formed. Yang Fan visibly tensed up as he turned around to look back, and noticed that another stream of energy had overtaken him from behind. The guy coughed loudly and spat out blood when he didn't have time to dodge, and the flow of sacred tree power attacked him directly in the back. He started to panic. It looked like this tree was very much mutated, that even his sword was powerless in this situation. However, our hero did not give up. He firmly grabbed the hilt of the sword with both hands, intending to fight back the tree further. He screamed, cursing, when out of the corner of his eye, he saw the second stream of tree energy creeping up on him from behind again. The main character turned around and saw that someone else was trying to stop the tree, because a bright purple light was shot at. It was Yan Yue who asked what terrible level the tree had mutated to, if only a bullet could stop its roots. She was startled and shouted for Yang Fan to quickly run away from there when she saw that as many as 6 magic roots surrounded the guy. The main character only had to jump high above the ground to dodge the sacred tree's attack. The guy shouted that he would have to go to extreme measures if he couldn't escape or destroy the tree, and threw the liquid from the bottle on him. The potion instantly affected the giant tree, and a hole was formed in it, from which heavy smoke began to pour out. The tree was damaged. The roots began to behave less hostile, so our hero decided to get closer to it. Taking advantage of the opportunity, the guy decided to start a deal with a merchant who was standing right under the tree. He didn't know if the purified water he sprinkled on the tree would have any effect, but for now, he had a chance to protect himself from more of its attacks. Yan Yue asked if the guy could do it because it suddenly became quiet, and Qing Shui said that she had no doubt that her brother could do it. Duanmu walked closer to the withered roots of the sacred tree and took pity on it, saying that the poor plant was finally free from this horror. The villagers were shocked to see that Yang Fan could actually control the tree, as it finally calmed down. Yang Fan realized that the tree protected the merchant well, because in the assortment he found many useful things, even profession cards. He decided to purchase an elf card, healing drugs, some potions to increase his strength, and an air defense card for teleportation. The guy was indignant when he saw that he didn't have much left after the purchase. He was already planning to send everyone to earn crystals when they came to Jigawa. After returning, the main character immediately drank a potion to increase the strength to finally deal with this sacred tree. Having become stronger after drinking the elixir, our hero came closer to the tree post, which became noticeably calmer. He was surprised when all the villagers knelt before him and declared him their prophet, whom they would now worship for saving their settlement. The guy was at a loss when Duanmu told him that he made the tree stop, and now all the villagers are fascinated by him. Qing Shui ran up to Big Brother and asked if he really went to the merchant. Our hero confirmed her guesses. The main character took out a potion to increase the strength of the first level and gave one to Sinan, the doctor sage, and his younger sister. Yan Yue was surprised when the guy handed her a potion to increase the strength of the second level to make it easier for her to fight. While the guys were happily drinking the potion they received, Yan Yue blushed. She thought that since she was given such an expensive elixir, our hero definitely likes her. After drinking the potion, a powerful aura surrounded the girl's entire body. A bright blue light enveloped her, and she said that she could feel the power saturating her. Sinan said that he felt as if he had grown muscles. Lin Miaochun said that she was tired. Only the younger sister of our hero complained that she could not feel anything. He asked her not to worry and handed her a card with a profession that would allow her to teleport through space and even fly. The guy also gave a card to Duanmu, with which she will become an elf, be able to talk to plants and even change their properties. Duanmu and Qing Sui took advantage of the cards, which immediately took effect. They were surrounded by a bright light indicating their element. The girl, having become an elf, immediately made contact with the tree, which admitted that due to the lack of control over its superpowers, it caused trouble. The tree said that it was glad that it did not harm our hero, because thanks to him, it got rid of the mutation, and also a new life was born in it. The elf stepped closer and stared dumbfounded at the small cocoon of bright green light that contained a creature. It turned out to be a Sophora seedling, a creature with a third-level mutation, a small green monster with a pretty face. The tree also allowed the guys to pick up its discarded roots, which are suitable for creating weapons. Duanmu thanked him for this. Qing Sui ran over and asked if the girl was really talking to the tree, and she said that it was all thanks to our hero. She reported to Yang Fan that the sacred tree not only gave them something, but also told them to make weapons from its roots. The guy replied that this creature is a seedling with a mutation of the third level, whose powers even exceed the third level, so it is impossible not to take advantage of this. The main character told the elf to train this creature well, because this baby has a huge potential. After activating the ring to hide the weapon, the guy told his team to gather around him because they were about to leave. The man immediately ran up to the guy to stop him, because they are benefactors of the village, and they should first stay for dinner. His daughter also grabbed Lin Miaochun's hand, saying that their aunts were great cooks, and Sinan didn't mind staying to eat something delicious. Sinan and our hero's younger sister started begging Yang Fan to stay for a while and eat because they were so hungry. The guy allowed them to stay. They lit a fire. The guys joined hands and started dancing around it. Lin Miaochun, sitting next to the guy, said that it would be great if they did not face the end of the world, and she hopes that every day the guys will live like this. The main character thought that they should cherish these happy moments, because the nightmare will start when they get to Dichuan. 2 weeks later, the car of our heroes had already reached the city of Dichuan, and on the horizon it was already visible what devastation reigns there. Sinan complained about running out of gas, so they would have to get out of the car now, and the road had sucked all the juice out of him. Duanmu said that the road is in critical condition, and it's good that they have the strength to maintain their bodies thanks to our hero. Yan Yue mentally addressed her parents, saying that she had arrived, and in this half a month she had become even stronger after training hard. When the younger sister of our hero got out of the car, She immediately became alert when she saw a zombie nearby. The girl, having received a profession card, managed to fly off the ground. She began to tease the zombie that he would not get to her. Yanyue also got out of the car and immediately started shooting at the zombies, calling them a bunch of level 1 nobodies. Another zombie aimed at Duanmu and Lin Miaochun. Elf covered the doctor with her back and told her not to leave her side. A girl with blue hair gave an order to her baby assistant to attack the zombies with her paws, which turned into a real murder weapon. Another bloodthirsty zombie jumped high above the ground to pounce on Sinan, and the guy noticed it. Elf shouted at Sinan to be careful, because this is a second-level zombie, much stronger than the previous monsters. Using her glasses for analysis, the girl said that, "It turns out, even on the border with the city there are such strong zombies." Sinan activated the second-level shield. The arrow attack was ready, as was the healer, and Qing Sue said that she was ready to retreat immediately. Duanmu gave her friend the order to open fire on the zombies and told her baby not to be distracted by the girl. Together with the green little monster, Yan Yue managed to knock down the level 2 zombie by shooting at it 3 times. The main character started applauding them, praising them for how their teamwork was getting better and better every time. Using the aerial defense card, Qing Sui teleported to get right next to the zombie and took the crystal from it. The girl presented the white crystal to her older brother, who patted her on the head and praised her for her excellent work. But when the main character turned around, he saw that they were in danger again. A bullet whizzed straight at him and his sister. The guy realized that they were ambushed, and there is someone else here besides the zombies who is a danger to them. Qing Shui said that it wasn't easy to attack her brother, and took his hand to teleport out of there with him. Duanmu, using her glasses, shouted to her best friend that the enemy was in the northwest direction, and the girl immediately pointed her gun there. The red-haired girl started firing her pistol at the place where the enemy was supposed to be. It landed squarely on the arm of a girl with bright turquoise hair who was holding a sniper rifle in her hand. Yan Yue, still holding the gun, approached the girl and asked who she was and why she had opened fire on them. The stranger replied that she shot because she wanted to take their lives, because they are still a bunch of bandits who rob people. Qing Sui asked the girl if they had stolen something from her, and why did she dare to slander them like that? The main character was taken aback when a stranger pointed at him and shouted, accusing him of stealing a crystal that should belong to her. She explained that she had been leading this level 2 zombie for 5 whole days and that she was supposed to kill it today, but they took the monster away from her. The girl burst into tears, admitting that this time she wanted to buy medicine for her sister, who is terminally ill. Yan Yue believed the girl and offered Yang Fan to help her, giving her some gray crystals as payment for a city tour. Yang Fan remembered from the past lives of these 2 beautiful sisters, they were strong and bold and had powerful superpowers. The guy did not believe that this was just a coincidence, so he asked the girl what her name was. The girl introduced herself as Chu Xiaoman and proudly stated that she wasn't going to ask them for mercy even if they wanted to take her life. The main character was dumbfounded when he heard her name. He thought that this meeting was destined for him. The guy asked if her sister's name was really Chu Xiaoyun, and the dumbfounded girl asked how he knew her sister. Yan Yui was also at a loss as she wondered how our hero knew about this girl's sister. She tensed up, because they are 1,000 kilometers away from home, and the girl's face shows that she has no idea who Yang Fan is. The red-haired girl wondered how many secrets the protagonist still kept from her and the rest of the team. Yang Fan remembered that in the past life, these 2 sisters had done incredible things, even though they had reached the 8th level. The 9th level monsters were easy prey for them. The main character understood that it would be a great loss if he didn't help Sister Chu Xiaoman, so he asked Chu Xiaoman if she could take them to her sister, and told her that there was a healer in his team who could help them. Chu Xiaoman was suspicious of him, so she replied that there was no way she would bring gangsters like them to her little sister. The guy gave her a crystal as a deposit if she didn't believe in their good intentions, and explained that they wanted to cooperate with her sister because they were looking for someone in town. The girl was at a loss, because with this white crystal, the team could hire a level 1 fighter as a bodyguard. Yan Yue tried to explain to the girl that if her friend helped her sister, it would be possible to save a lot of crystals in the future. Chu Xiaoyun was affected by the red-haired girl's arguments and replied that it made sense, so she agreed to make a deal. A girl with bright turquoise hair began to lead our hero and his entire team to the building where her sister is now located. She didn't care if she met good or bad people because she wanted to jump at any opportunity to heal her sister. Soon they came to the underground base. The girl said that it was safe there because zombies cannot get there. Chu Xiaoyun started knocking on the iron door, calling for it to be opened, and said that it was her so that the people from the base wouldn't think they were strangers. Yang Fan looked dumbfounded at his ring, which started to react, which meant that there might be merchants nearby. People opened the door. The girl asked where Chu Xiaoman was all this time. After all, she was worried, and she was gone for 5 whole days. The girl asked who the people behind Chu Xiaoman were, and the guys pointed their guns at the strangers. Sinan was indignant and immediately covered his team and himself with a shield, shouting, asking the guards what they were doing. Chu Xiaoman tried to explain to her sister that she had misunderstood everything. She brought good people who helped her defeat the zombies and gave her a crystal. Chu Xiaoyan stared at the white crystal with her eyes wide open because she knew how valuable it was in the world of the apocalypse. The girl realized that her little sister had brought good people, so she allowed them to open the doors and let the guys go to the base. She decided that she needed to get to know our heroes better, because her sister would never have brought the villains to the base. Little sister decided to immediately give her another piece of good news, telling her that her injuries could be cured. Chu Xiaoman said that our heroes are here to find one person, so they want to cooperate, and they have a healer in their team. The girl laughed and called her little sister silly, explaining that a perfect first-level sage wouldn't heal her injuries. The nurse said that even so, they would now have the white crystal, and they would be able to buy medicine to ease the girl's suffering. Chu Xiaoman screamed indignantly, trying to convince her sister that she needed treatment when she said that it was better to keep the crystal since her injuries didn't bother her much. The guy asked the second leader, Chu Xiaoyun, not to say so, and admitted that it was his fault that she was injured. He lamented that he was incapable of anything, having previously fallen into the clutches of zombies, and the leader had to exchange all the white crystals for an antidote to save him. Chu Xiaoman was trying to convey to Big Sister that she shouldn't sacrifice herself. The main character found it a little strange. In the past life, there was no way to buy an antidote from merchants. The guy asked how many crystals they still lacked to buy the antidote. He was willing to lend them in exchange for being able to use the merchant's services. Chu Xiaoyun admitted that they were missing 4 white crystals and asked how much money the guy had. She stared dumbfounded at the 4 white crystals that the guy handed her and told her to take him to the merchant. The girl was in shock, not understanding why Yang Fan was so kind to her, and why it was so easy to part with such a large sum of money. Chu Xiaoyun asked the guy why he was helping them, even though they didn't even know each other, and assumed that he had his own interests. Chu Xiaoman and her older sister blushed and were dumbfounded with shock when the guy replied that he needed both of them. Lin Miaochun was shocked because the same words the guy said to her the day before. Yan Yue was furious with jealousy. Yang Fan said that he had heard that Chu Xiaoyun has elementary superpowers, and he just lacks such a fighter. Chu Xiaoyun agreed to be his guide for the gift of crystals, but did not want to become a full-fledged member of the team. She explained that there are many small and large groups in the city right now, but they don't want to be under anyone's power. The girls took the guys inside the building and decided to show them where the merchant is. Our hero and the others followed them. Chu Xiaoyun asked the guy to keep the merchant's location a secret, because not only does he save their lives, but he is also the only source of food. The main character agreed to keep the secret. The girl showed him the direction of the exchange with her finger. He saw a white-robed merchant in the corner of the room, which indicated that he possessed a second level, and he was wondering if there was an antidote in the assortment. Our hero was determined to find out. He told the red-haired girl to wait for him here. Yang Fan approached the mysterious creature in a snow-white robe and asked to start a transaction. He immediately found himself in another space. The young man began to get acquainted with the assortment. From the merchant, it was possible to buy various flasks with potions. Just in case, he decided to buy one antidote so that the elf could analyze it. The guy was glad to see such a wide range. He also bought a Pure Soul Profession card. He wanted to give it to his sisters to join him, and if they refused, he would give it to the cat, but definitely not to them. The purchase was completed successfully. Now Yang Fan was upset that he had spent a lot of crystals again. Only 2 white crystals remained in the account, but the guy reminded himself that he was going to get rich soon. He mentally appealed to his worst enemy Xiao to get ready, because our hero is already close. The deal was completed, so the main character was ready to return to his team with new purchases. As soon as he returned, he heard Chu Xiaoyun scream. The girl begged her younger sister to take her life because she was already turning into a zombie. It wasn't just Chu Xiaoyun who started mutating, but also the guy from this base who took the antidote, and the guys didn't understand why this was happening. Moreover, this guy did not turn into an ordinary zombie, but immediately into a strong second-level zombie with special abilities. Yanwei took out her gun and shouted, telling the others to hide behind her while she shot at the zombies. The red-haired girl screamed, wishing for the monster to die, and opened fire on the zombie that was just a normal guy a moment ago. The pistol bullets didn't seem to pose much of a threat to the zombies. The monster was roaring loudly and raging, standing firmly on its feet. It was bad. The zombie changed its target. Now it wanted to attack the Chu sisters, who were already in a defenseless position. King Zui decided to use the air defense card, teleportation, intending to save the defenseless girls. Chu Xiaoyun deduced that the antidote seemed to be useless, and if you were bitten by a zombie, your days were numbered. Qing Sui teleported herself right next to the sisters, shouted for them not to lose heart, and promised that she would save them. The little sister of our hero panicked when there was not enough time to teleport. The zombie's hand was already inches away from them. Fortunately, the main character came to the rescue in time, who swung his flaming sword to attack the zombies. Thick smoke began to fill the room, and a relieved Ching Sui told her older brother that she knew he would come to the rescue. Yang Fan scolded his sister, saying that she should never risk herself again, thinking that her superpowers made her invulnerable. Fearing for his younger sister, remembering what had happened to her in her previous life, the boy hugged her tightly and told her that he couldn't lose her again. Ching Sui was at a loss. She didn't understand what her brother's words about losing again meant, and wondered if she had already been kidnapped. The guy told Duanmu to check the composition and see what the contraption was capable of, handing her a test tube of the antidote. Yang Fan asked the two sisters how they were doing, and a tearful Chu Xiaoman said that everything was bad, and it looked like Chu Xiaoyun was turning into a zombie. Chu Xiaoyun started begging for her life to be taken away right now because it's hard for her to control herself already, but her sister was absolutely against it. Chu Xiaoman yelled at the healer to save her older sister faster. Lin Miaochun was briefly taken aback. Duanmu reported to the leader that the drug is a common antidote that can't stop the mutation process. The guy realized that in this world, it is also impossible to buy a remedy that cleanses the body after a zombie bite from merchants. Chu Xiaoyun was already very much like a zombie. Her eyes turned red. The girl went berserk and started growling like a monster. The girl completely lost control of her mind and attacked her own younger sister, who screamed in fear. Chu Xiaoyun started crying and told her sister that she couldn't control herself anymore, so she had to run away. But Chu Xiaoman wasn't going to save herself. She lay still on the floor and said that she would be more than happy to leave the world with her sister. Yang Fan said that it was inconvenient for him to disturb the girls at such a dramatic moment, but they should stop talking, otherwise Chu Xiaoyun really couldn't be saved. The protagonist handed the girl a test tube of green liquid and told Chu Xiaoyun to drink it to help himself survive. The girl who was controlled by the mutation started to growl. She was angry when she was offered an antidote. Her sister asked if it would really help, and if it didn't, then our hero and his team should get out of here as soon as possible. Yang Fan kicked Chu Xiaoyun and told her sister to stop whining and better pour this liquid into the girl's mouth as soon as possible. The main character grabbed Chu Xiaoyun's hands and began to force her to drink medicine. She tried to resist. The girl screamed and complained of severe pain. The medicine immediately began to work, fighting against the mutation. But after a few seconds, clarity returned to her eyes as she clutched her head and collapsed to the floor, turning back into a human. The main character reassured Sinan, saying that the girl was no longer a danger, so he could remove his shield. Chu Xiaoyun lost her memory. She asked if she had turned into a zombie, and if the sister was the one who made her drink the medicine. Chu Xiaoman replied that the main character was the one who saved both of them. Chu Xiaoyun was surprised that the guy did it. Yang Fan said that the local merchants sell a primitive antidote that does not help, and he gave the girl a medicine that he bought a long time ago. It was hard for her to even imagine how much the medicine that healed her was worth, and she wondered how she could repay the boy's kindness. Suddenly, a man ran into the corridor and shouted to the base leader that there was a big problem. The man reported that their enemy Zheng Zhong had broken into the base with his men. The battle was currently taking place in the main hall, and their brothers were in a difficult situation. The chairman replied that Zheng Zhong must have heard the news that she was injured, so he decided to organize a crackdown here. Chu Xiaoman tried to stop her older sister, saying that she was still quite weak, so she couldn't fight. Yan Yue asked our hero if they were going to help the guys, and he said that first they would just watch. Zheng Zhong shouted to his guys to smash everything here, because Chu Xiaoyun had turned into a zombie, and she wouldn't be able to resist them. The man with the beard said that if they found a merchant in the base, they would become even stronger, and his subordinates were happy to hear that. Contrary to their expectations, Chu Xiaoyun kicked down the door and used her firepower to come out and ask what lowly creatures dared to do such a thing on her territory. Zheng Zhong was shocked, he shouted, asking what the hell is going on here, and why is this slutty woman with superpowers still here? He tensed, not understanding how the girl managed to survive, because Qin Jun assured him that thanks to him, the girl was infected with a mutation. Controlling the flames in her palms, the base chairman declared that she wasn't dead, and remarked that Zheng Zhong had enough courage to come here. But suddenly, she clenched her teeth and squeezed her eyes shut from the intense pain. She clutched at the wound and could no longer stand on her feet. Zheng Zhong was overjoyed when he realized that the girl was just trying to trick them, and told the brothers that they still had a chance to win. He sent his brothers to attack, and the man told them to capture the girl who couldn't use the force now, and then the merchant would be theirs. One of the base boys shouted to the others to hold their ground because the villains wanted to capture their leader. The man managed to get to the leader of the Chu Xiaoyun base, put a gun to her head, and tell her not to move. Zheng Zhong warned that the leader's life would be forfeited if any of her subordinates dared to move. Chu Xiaoman stood up for her older sister, pointing a machine gun at the man and shouting that he would die if he dared to touch the girl. Chu Xiaoman yelled at her older sister to hide behind her, promising that the man wouldn't dare to hurt her. Zheng Zhong decided to go along with the girl's condition and dropped the gun, raising his hands up and declaring that he would let her go. But in reality, the sly man had a backup plan. He turned around and told the subordinate to defuse Chu Xiaoman's weapon. The shaven-headed scoundrel opened fire on the girl, wounding her arm so that she could not shoot from the machine gun. The guys from the underground base realized that it was bad, so one of them put his hands up and begged Zheng Zhong to let him live. Chu Xiaoman became hysterical. The girl closed her eyes and started crying and screaming, demanding that it all stop. The injured girl collapsed to her knees. She could only scream, calling for the main character to come to the rescue. Suddenly, the shaven-headed guy who had attacked her got shot in retaliation, paying the price for what he had done. Everyone turned around at the same time and looked at the guy with their mouths agape, not understanding who could have done this. Zheng Zhong started to turn his head in fright. He shouted, asking who had just dealt with his loyal subordinate. He shouted, urging that person to stop hiding, otherwise he would take all of their lives. The main character appeared. The guy, with his hands in his pockets, announced his appearance and asked what would happen next. Chu Xiaoman started asking the guy to help them get rid of these scoundrels. Chu Xiaoyun was surprised that Yang Fan came to the rescue again. Zheng Zhong suggested that the guy negotiate and just don't touch each other, because Yang Fan doesn't look like one of the Chu sisters' chain dogs. The man with the beard was tense, and he knew that there was a catch somewhere, because the guy came out to them completely alone. Yang Fan asked the elf if she was done with the analysis. The girl reported that there were only 6 enemies, and the strongest one had the first level. All 6 criminals stared at our hero in a daze when they realized that he had not come here alone. The scoundrels pointed guns at Yang Fan, and one of them told his brother that they couldn't miss them, because they might tell someone about the merchant. Zheng Zhong agreed with him, so he shouted, ordering his companions to all open fire on the guy. But the main character was also not unarmed. 2 guns appeared in the darkness behind him, and his team opened fire on the opponents in response. 6 bullets whizzed past Yang Fan, enough to get rid of the entire gang at the same time. The bandits also opened fire on our hero. Using pistols and submachine guns, they thoughtlessly fired towards the door. At the right moment, Qingsui used teleportation, bringing along Sinan, who was holding a shield in front of him. Therefore, all the bullets that the villains fired hit the shield, protecting not only Sinan and the girl, but also our hero. Qingsui asked her brother not to be afraid, saying that they were here, and the bewildered guy asked what made her think that he was afraid. The bandits did not have the same shield as our heroes, so the bullets fired at them landed directly on the target. Zheng Zhong survived but was injured. He realized that there were other people with superpowers who almost sent him to the next world. Yanwei and the others came out, and the girl said that it turns out that after getting the coordinates, she can hit the target even with her eyes closed. Lin Miaochun activated her healing energy and said that she would go and help the injured from the underground base. The sisters hugged, and Chu Xiaoman cried, saying that they were saved and they would be fine now. Zheng Zhong, holding his head, genuinely didn't understand why these girls were being helped by so many strong people. The patroness of the base, grinning, replied to the man that it was because they were lucky. The girl demanded that the man report who told him that there was a merchant here, and she was injured, otherwise he would not be well. Zheng Zhong said that it was Qin Jun. He said that the girl spent white crystals to buy him a second-level antidote. Chu Xiaoyun had just received this information. She shouted that the man was now going to die, and fired. The patroness of the base bowed her head to the protagonist and thanked him for saving them several times already. She said that this time the guy saved not only her, but also all her brothers, so she doesn't know how to thank him. The girl understood that this man could be relied on, because he easily and skillfully saved the situation. Yang Fan apologized to Yang Fan for being very nervous and not paying attention when she called out his name in a difficult moment. The guy explained that he just wanted the girls to stay alive, because they can help him find one person, so do not thank them. Chu Xiaoyun said that it was her duty to help the guy now, and she couldn't refuse him. But before that, she had one request to make. The girl said that there were only 10 people left alive in the camp. She asked if the guy would mind if they also joined the team. She had no idea what she would have done if the guy had banned her guys from joining his team right now. The main character allowed all the survivors to join him on condition that they all follow his orders from now on. The sisters were genuinely happy to hear that the people from their camp would be able to continue following along with them. Yang Fan smiled. He thought that he had done all this work for a good reason after all. He had received 2 strong people with elementary abilities to join the team. Chu Xiaoyun stated that from today on, Yang Fan will be the commander of this base, and the guys must obey him. But none of the surviving guys were against obeying our hero. They simultaneously thanked the new boss for his help. Qingsui told the guys that from this day forward they were all battle companions, so they should study well and train more. While taking out something from his inner pocket, the protagonist told Chu Xiaoyun that since they were no longer strangers to each other, he wanted to give her something. He took out the card, knowing that only it could display the true power of a girl's elemental superpowers. Chu Xiaoman was shocked to receive a pure soul card that was worth as much as 2,000 crystals. She found it hard to believe that a guy would just give it to her. The girl gaped at the card, and the guy gave her permission to use it. Shinjun and the boy's younger sister were shocked when they saw the girl kiss him on the cheek, thanking him for the gift. Qingshui was indignant. She was absolutely against this girl becoming her daughter-in-law, and Yan Yue thought that she was even jealous of her. Chu Xiaoman immediately used the Pure Soul Profession card, and she began to hover above the ground, shooting out lightning bolts from her eyes. Chu Xiaoyun was happy for her younger sister, who had always wanted this card, but couldn't afford it, because all the money was spent on medicines. She finally decided that she hadn't made a mistake about Yang Fan, because she never thought that he would buy a card for her little sister. The fusion was completed, and an enthusiastic Chu Xiaoman told our hero that she wanted to try out her abilities right away. After getting permission, she decided to try out her power on Zheng Zhong, who wanted to offend them, and hit him with blocks of ice. The girl was startled by the power of the attack. She asked if this was the power of the Pure Soul Profession card. Yan Yue sighed sadly as she thought that only she was the only one left in the team without the mutation. The rest of them had profession cards. Yang Fan told the girl not to indulge because right now her body is still weak for such strength, and otherwise she might get exhausted. The main character asked the patroness of the base to gather people, because he wants to look around outside. The guy decided that he needed to get acquainted with the situation as quickly as possible. He had to hurry, because there was still no news from Yan Yue's parents. Chu Xiaoyun told the healer that it was time for her to leave and thanked the girl for her help, assuring her that she felt much better. The curious Qing Sui approached her older brother and said that she wanted to go exploring too, and asked him to bring her along. The guy refused her, saying that now he was leaving to explore the nearby territory, and it was dangerous, especially since he had another task for his sister. Yang Fan told her to check the food supply in the camp, and if there was nothing there, take out the food from the necklace and distribute it to everyone. All the campers' eyes lit up. Chu Xiaoman asked if they really have food because they have a big problem with it at the base. Qing Sui took out her storage necklace and dumped a whole pile of food on the ground, saying that everyone could eat their fill. The children were shocked when they saw the abundance of food, including spicy chicken legs, noodles, sweets, and much more. Even the female leaders of the base were very hungry, and they looked at the food with burning eyes as they rubbed their hungry bellies. The main character allowed the guys to eat and not be shy. He told Chu Xiaoyun to eat too while he went to investigate. The residents of the base pounced on the mountain of food like animals and started shoving food into their mouths right there, squatting down because they were so hungry. Yang Fan knew that in the apocalypse, food became the most popular thing. Even merchants sold food at sky-high prices, and it was not available to ordinary people. He remembered that in the past, ordinary people had to sacrifice a lot in order to eat. Many became slaves. Chu Xiaoyun, wiping her mouth, came to our hero and said that it was time to leave, because she had already eaten. The main character opened his eyes wide when he noticed the girl's pockets. He saw that Chu Xiaoyun had brought a chocolate bar with her, and thought that in the apocalypse, a bar of chocolate was truly considered a priceless treasure. Yang Fan turned around and told the girl to follow him. Chu Xiaoyun started to run obediently after the guy. On the street, she said that the city has a central district that goes around 5 rings, and now they are on the verge of the 5th ring. Even at the edge of the 5th ring, it turned out to be dangerous. They immediately ran into a zombie that was running towards them. Snarling, the girl decided to cover the guy with her back. She used the power of fire to attack the zombies with a sphere of flame. Chu Xiaoyun directed streams of flame energy directly at the monster, which caused the zombies to turn into ashes. She said that there are first-level zombies living in the area, but sometimes you can also meet second-level zombies. The girl said that within the 3rd ring, second-level zombies are common, sometimes even 3rd-level zombies are found. Yang Fan knew from Yan Yue's words that her parents lived within the 3rd ring, while his worst enemy Xiao Ao lived in the heart of the district. So he asked the girl what about the 1st ring, and she said she didn't have the guts to go that far yet. Chu Xiaoyun decided to tell our hero that she saw from afar that people live within the 3rd ring. According to her, these people have an organization there, and they are well-disciplined, and they deal with second-level zombies without much effort. The main character asked if the girl could handle the second-level zombies on her own. She replied that she thought it would be a bit difficult for her, and just at that moment she noticed that a second-level zombie was flying towards them. The girl activated the Fire Sun technique in time. Her fist turned into a cloud of flames, and she was ready to fight back against the monster. Chu Xiaoyun tried to hit the second-level zombie with the Fire Sun, but the monster dodged it in time. The zombie changed its target and decided to attack our hero. The girl noticed this and shouted to the boss to get down. But instead, Yang Fan grabbed her hand and told her that she was holding it incorrectly, that it should be held still and not thrown back randomly. The guy began to help Chu Xiaoyun by controlling her hand. He ordered her to give freedom to her superpowers. The girl decided to once again use the Fire Sun technique and hit a strong zombie with a stream of fiery energy. This time, thanks to the advice of our hero, the flames overtook the zombies. The monster surrounded by fire continued to growl. Chu Xiaoyun was shocked that she managed to hit the target so easily. She was amazed at what a wise teacher Yang Fan was. Yang Fan explained to the girl that she was at the first level and her abilities were weak, so he decided to help her by using his sword against the zombies. The main character ended the monster's suffering with one blow, and a crystal immediately fell out of it. The girl took the crystal, and the guy advised her to increase her level as soon as possible, and then they will enter the limits of the third ring. Chu Xiaoyun was amazed that our hero managed to get rid of the second-level zombies with a single swing of his sword. They returned to the base, and soon Qingsui asked what special training they were talking about, because she just wanted to go out and hunt monsters to earn crystals. Her brother explained to her that the city was much more dangerous than the ones they had visited before, and her sister's current strength wasn't enough to find Yanyue's parents. He said that the special training is divided into 3 stages. The first is a thorough study of the characteristics of her ability. Qingsui replied that she knows that her superpower is air defense. She can teleport to save herself and her comrades. The guy replied that he would ask her a couple of questions. He asked her how far she could teleport at most, and how many people to take with her. The questions were too difficult for his little sister, who admitted that she did not understand it at all. Yang Fan concluded that no one from the team had studied their abilities in depth, and if they made a mistake during the battle, the consequences would be disastrous. Yanyue still felt depressed that she was the only one who didn't have superpowers, and it was even more frustrating that even Sinan did. Seeing that the girl was upset, Yang Fan said that it wasn't that he didn't give her a card on purpose. He just hadn't found a suitable one for her yet. The girl was happy. She thought that the guy remembers her, and in the future she will definitely get a superpower. She tried to push the bad thoughts out of her head, because the whole team is gathered to save her parents, and she is thinking about some superpowers. The girl told herself to get ready, reminded that she is the best in the world and owns a gun, and that she is the strongest even without superpowers. Yang Fan talked about the second stage of training, which is hard work on your physical fitness, because it can help at a critical moment. Showing 3 fingers, the main character stated that the third stage is to hone teamwork. Duanmu asked the leader if they hadn't already practiced this skill before, and if they still needed to practice. The guy replied that now he will collect teams of 3 people in random order every day to hunt zombies. He said that they need to learn how to develop different battle tactics that will skillfully adapt to changes. Lin Miaochun, wary, asked what all this meant and whether they would have to move around the city separately. The guy replied that they would have to split up because he couldn't use up all the team's trumps at once, and under any circumstances they should still have power sources. The girl thought that the leader was right, because they don't know what opponents are waiting ahead, and there is only hope of victory if there are forces for reinforcements. Chu Xiaoyun and her little sister understood that Yang Fan cared about them, and in this end of the world, one could only survive by listening to his orders. Yang Fan announced that the first round of special training would start tonight. He divided the guys into groups, and Chu Xiaoyun told them to stay at the base and take inventory. There were no objections from the team members, who simultaneously replied that they were ready to carry out the task of the leader. A puzzled Qingsui asked Big Brother what he would be doing during the first round of training. The guy replied that he, of course, will not sit idly by because he still has his own things to do. When night fell, the main character went out on the streets of the city all alone to go about his business. The day before, he had studied this road in detail. He knew that it was the shortest route that would lead him to the inner rings of the city. Soon, Yang Fan reached the outer boundary of the third ring, where he saw a complete ruin and monsters wandering on the street. Here, he intended to get high-quality materials for his team, deal with some scary monster to get valuable artifacts. The guy was wary when he heard a frightening sound and saw that the same terrible monster was roaming nearby. He saw a large mutated boar that has superpowers because its body was surrounded by a bright blue light. The mutant boar was huge, its eyes were bright with blue light, and there was a red crystal on its forehead. People were trying to fight it. Jumping up, our hero swung a flaming sword and said that the boar would be just right for him as a material for weapons. The boar noticed the threat just in time. It turned around and glared at the main character who was about to attack it. Acting cautiously, Yang Fan, holding a sword in his left hand, tried to get close to the boar so as not to get hurt himself. He knew that this was an animal with a level 3 mutation, so he shouldn't be too careless. The guy attacked the boar with a sword. He also wanted to test what his second-level body was now capable of when combined with a 4th-level weapon. Our hero tried to deprive the boar of the second tusk, but it remained in place, only slightly blackened and sparked, and this only angered the animal. The young man saw that the boar's powers were at the peak of the 3rd level, and it seemed that this animal had eaten quite a few of its own kind. He realized that the boar was determined to use its horn against the guy, which meant that the animal had intelligence. The main character grinned and told the boar that it was a pity that the mutated animal had no chance anyway. Yang Fan once again aimed the tip of his blade at the boar's head, leaping higher to attack it. With his punch, he injured the animal, saying that the boar's attacks didn't work with him after all. The guy had practiced countless times in his previous life. The guy grinned and swung his sword at the mutated beast again, warning it to take its red crystal. The boar began to growl even louder, baring its fangs as our hero sat on its head and tried to take its crystal. The guy did not succeed in doing this. The boar, although it was wounded, managed to throw the guy off its neck. Yang Fan landed nearby and faced a level 3 mutated boar that could still fight. The guy was surprised that even in death, the boar has enough strength to throw it off, but the third level is the third level, so it's possible to defeat it. The main character was noticeably frightened when he saw that the boar's body was surrounded by a sphere of bright light, and it opened its mouth wide. He immediately guessed that this glow symbolized a breakthrough to the next level, which meant that the boar was about to enter the fourth level. In his previous life, he had already heard of cases where mutant animals broke through to the next level right during battle, but he had never seen such a thing himself. The boar now looked even stronger, its eyes starting to glow gold instead of blue, and its wounds were healing. The guy realized that now even he could get into trouble, because this monster, having gained the fourth level, received superpowers. On the other hand, he wanted to wait until the boar had fully reached the fourth level to get the orange crystal, and then use his fangs to create top-quality weapons. Suddenly, the boar was attacked by someone else. It was a grenade that flew into the mutant animal and detonated, provoking a strong explosion. The main character, covering himself from the flames, realized that the animal was attacked with a grenade launcher, which means there are people nearby. They were two brothers, and one of them said that they had a great catch today, because they could buy a lot of things with the red crystal they got. Yang Fan saw them and made it clear that the boar was his catch, because it was he who brought the animal to a state of near death, and they just finished it off. The big man with the grenade launcher shouted, asking if Yang Fan really wanted to take the crystal for himself, and attacked him with the grenade launcher. The projectile, which whistled accurately at our hero, did not frighten the guy in any way. He stood with his sword ready. The main character swung his sword to disarm the grenade. He got angry, asking the big guy if he really wanted to die. The guy successfully defused the projectile, so it exploded behind him, without harming our hero. The brothers who had attacked Yang Fan with a rocket launcher gaped in shock and stared at him after seeing what he was capable of. One of them shouted that there was a mistake. He asked Yang Fan to forgive his brother for acting recklessly. The man with the red hair said that he and his brother had killed the monster after all, and offered to split the profit 40 to 60. His brother was against it. He shouted, "Does a man want to give 40% to Yang Fan, a guy who can take his life?" The main character agreed to this offer, but said that he would get 80% of the profit, and the brothers only 20. The big guy was outraged. He started shouting at our hero, and even his brother already said that Yang Fan was going too far. Yang Fan smiled as he asked who else was going overboard. After all, these guys had stolen his loot, and now they were demanding half of it. The ferocious guy got angry and started loading his grenade launcher again, shouting that he didn't believe Yang Fan could handle his second shot. The main character held onto his sword tightly and was about to push off from the ground to fight back against the scoundrel. Without waiting for the shot, Yang Fan leaped up to the big man and attacked him with his sword, depriving him of his weapon. The big man shouted, warning his brother that our hero does not have an ordinary weapon. After tripping and falling, his brother replied that he already knew it, and Yang Fan, meanwhile, was about to attack them again. The protagonist swung a flaming blade and warned the two men that their end was near, but the red-haired man only grinned in response, because trying to attack Yang Fan made him laugh. He used his superpowers in time and activated the protective dome, which prevented Yang Fan's blade from reaching him. Our hero suggested that the man has superpowers of the third level of the Iron Card, since he withstood his blow. The man confirmed his guesses and said that he had yet to meet anyone on the outer edge of the third ring who could defeat him. He shouted that, even if our hero is a rookie from a big team, today he will have to say goodbye to life, and tried to attack him with a hand that turned into a cold weapon. The superpowers of the strongest fighters of the outer border of the city did not impress our hero. He easily blocked the attack. The main character tried to destroy the enemy's magic protective dome by striking it with a sword. The guy, concentrating on the enemy, once again swung the flaming blade sharply to get at the villain. The man was serious. He shouted that it was a battle to the death, and he wasn't afraid of the guy, continuing to attack him with his hand. After hitting the guy, the man said that it was no wonder Yang Fan was so fearless, because he made sure that he was wearing a bulletproof vest. He saw that our hero's body was surrounded by magic armor, which prevents him from injuring Yang Fan seriously. The man said that, unfortunately, his heart is made of iron, so Yang Fan won't be able to take his life. Yang Fan replied with a smile that the man seemed very lucky to have survived the end of the world, being such a stupid and uncouth fighter. He added that the man's luck ended there because Yang Fan's weapon is much stronger, and with that, he attacked him once more. A red-haired man with superpowers screamed in pain as our hero found his weak spot and delivered a fatal blow. Hiding his flaming sword behind his back, the main character declared that he was just capable of sending a man to the next world. The big guy was horrified when he saw what had happened to his older brother, and he started shouting at him. But Yang Fan wasn't going to leave the man alone. He swung his sword once more, leaving a bright orange trail behind him. A smug grin appeared on his face, because this attack was also successful and the opponent was injured. A moment later, Yang Fan's expression changed dramatically, and he was terrified when he was unexpectedly injured as well. The man told the guy that he had miscalculated because he clearly did not expect that the enemy's blood could turn into iron. But it didn't help him survive. He closed his eyes, losing consciousness while his younger brother screamed in terror. The big guy pulled out a gun. He was angry with our hero. He was going to take a cruel revenge on him for the death of his brother. The main character was not at all frightened when he saw that the bullet was whizzing straight at him. Yang Fan swung his flame blade just in time to disarm the bullet on the fly. After that, the guy got close to the second brother and again swung the weapon in order to deal with him. A single blow from him was enough to cause him a fatal wound. The big man lost his balance and started to fall on his back. The main character took out a healing drug from the ring, because he received several wounds after receiving the enemy's iron blood. He drank the medicine, saying that he didn't expect to meet such skilled opponents on the third ring, which meant that he would have to become even stronger. He found that he only had one potion left to heal, and he needed to replenish his supplies immediately once he met the merchant. Soon, under the cover of night, our hero returned to the underground base. He knocked. The door was opened by a disgruntled Chu Xiaoyun. The girl's face instantly changed. She looked at the guy in surprise when she realized that their leader had returned to the base. Chu Xiaoyun didn't expect our hero to return so early. She assumed that he met a zombie because his clothes were torn. The main character honestly replied that he was not faced with zombies, but with masters with third-level superpowers. The girl was shocked because the guy, having met with a third-level master, survived and received only a hole in his clothes. The guy asked if the guys had returned from a special training session, and the girl replied in a sad voice that it was better for him to take a look at it himself. When Chu Xiaoyun saw with his own eyes what happened during the training, he opened his eyes wide in horror. The main character saw Sinan sitting on the floor in front of him. He was seriously injured. A metal pipe was sticking out of him. Keeping calm, the guy asked what had happened and where their healer was. Chu Xiaoyun replied that Lin Miaochun hadn't returned yet. Crying, Chu Xiaoman said that Sinan wanted to help the girl. She screamed that it was all because of her and her weakness. Duanmu revealed that they met two strong level 2 zombies, which was why Sinan was heavily injured while trying to save the girls. Sinan, trying to remain optimistic, said that it wasn't easy to finish him off because his bone was wide, and asked Yang Fan if he was disappointed with him. The main character decided to cheer up a friend, saying that he did the right thing, so he is not disappointed at all. The guy handed Duanmu a test tube of green liquid and asked the girl to take this healing drug. Sinan understood that this drug was worth a fortune. He believed that now he was in debt to the guy for the rest of his life for his kindness. Our hero instructed the girl to give medicine to the wounded man when he pulled this thing out of his body. The guy told the injured youth to endure, making it clear that it would be very painful. Sinan was ready to courageously endure everything. Yang Fan made a sharp move, pulling out the metal pipe in an instant. Sinan didn't even have time to blink. Duanmu immediately started pouring a bright green liquid into the guy's mouth to cure him and prevent him from dying from blood loss. Our hero calmed them down, saying that now the guy's life is no longer in danger. But for a complete cure, Lin Miaochun needs help. Duanmu said that the girls went to the northeast, and she's worried why they haven't returned yet since it's already 3 o'clock in the morning. The main character also understood that something was wrong here, and said that he was afraid that something might have happened to the girls. He said that he would go look for the missing girls and let Duanmu take care of Sinan for now. Yang Fan went outside again to find the girls, and immediately encountered a few zombies along the way. The guy easily got rid of the first bloodthirsty monster, dealing him a fatal wound with a magic sword. He understood that Yan Yue liked to show off her abilities, and in a team with other girls, it wouldn't be difficult for them to deal with trouble. The main character became alert and looked to the side when something caught his attention. The guy guessed that there was a fight nearby because he smelled blood, and he started moving cautiously. Walking around the corner, he immediately saw Yan Yue. The girl was surrounded by a whole crowd of strong men, but was still fine. Unlike Lin Miaochun and our hero's younger sister, who were already lying on the ground, the girl accused the villains of spraying poison while the ladies were fighting zombies. They explained that it was not a poison, but Rosemary's ability that makes people lose consciousness, and their leader warned the beauty that she should stop, otherwise she will face the same fate. The scar-faced man said that the crystals in Yan Yue's hand and the gun were her dowry, and promised that he would treat her well in the future. Yan Yue shouted that he could only dream about it because she would never have anything to do with such a scumbag, and opened fire. The bullets hit the scar-faced man's defensive field, so Yan Yue couldn't deal with him. The gang leader shouted at his subordinates to all open fire on the girls and send them to the next world. Yan Yue panicked. She could dodge the bullets herself, but not her friends who were unconscious. She only blamed herself. The girl decided to get out of this situation, she screamed, demanding that they stop because she has a proposal to them. Yan Yuo offered a deal, single combat without weapons. If she won, the bandit should let them leave, and if not, she would do whatever he required. The scar-faced man considered the red-haired girl's suggestion, pausing for a moment. Yang Fan decided that there was no need to interfere, because Yan Yue was the strongest fighter in her previous life, and now is a great opportunity for her to become on this path. The bandit decided to accept Yan Yue's interesting offer, and his companions laughed and said that she was just frostbitten on the head.